Hello.
Hello.
Piss hell.
Hi, I'm Neil Gaiman. Welcome to Piss Hell, my weekly anthology series. Terror abounds.
In piss hell,
In Piss Hell,
it's a special heck for your pee.
That's what we're doing today.
Oh, the piss is out of the bag, folks. The
Special
piss is
heck
on
for
the
your pee.
floor. The piss is all over us. And we have a hype train.
Yes.
Thank you. It's for resubbing. Thank you, Eternity Box, for subscribing with Prime. If you subscribe, you get a special little dump truck treat that you can put, as well as a piss emoji. Which don't you want to be able to piss like we do? So, But
Quarian,
thank you for being here regardless.
when we were on the hold screen, could you guys hear my audio? Is that why you said an McElroy piss soundboard? Or or did you just guess very well? I didn't realize you guys could hear my computer audio on the hold screen.
Oh yeah, little green room leakage.
like pee. Oh, you
Yeah.
heard it.
Oh yeah.
Sorry,
Yes, we
guys.
heard it. Oh,
a little bit
good thing
less
you
of a
didn't
surprise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it wasn't us. It was just my computer audio. So.
Okay, perfect.
But that's good to
So,
know because I didn't realize
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well,
You guys.
tweet.
Yeah.
Quarian said, "I thought it was hype music."
Stream of piss. Exactly. It's an
That's right.
episode.
An episode. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is all
much to discuss.
all about piss. A lot of it is inspired by the fact that Devin got into his own little piss course pissing match.
I was canceled.
You were
by the
canceled.
woke mob, and what do you know? It didn't affect me negatively in any way.
To be fair, your op was the one that had to give
I
the
know,
no sad apology.
I know. I fucking debate broed her, but oh my god, yes, I was so fortunate that I could quote retweet somebody who was cravenly screenshotting me outside of context. And the dolls came to my rescue. Also, I have to say,
The Beatles.
yes, every trans girl that's on Twitter all the time came and weighed in, and there was and the person who attacked me had to issue an apology.
Yep.
Even after then, I continued to double down and say things worse on purpose. So.
But anyway, let's not start with that one. I think we should start with the best one. It's barely even discourse. It's just very good.
Yes. Speaking of debate, bro.
Exactly. So we have a little TikTok that we should watch. That's just really good. In case anybody hasn't seen it.
Can't refuse the question. LGBTQ rights or economic stability?
Why can't you have both?
You need to pick one.
I refuse the question.
You can't refuse the question.
I do,
But you can't.
but I did.
But you need to pick one.
No, I don't.
I just said you did.
So what?
Can you pick one?
No, because they're both doable.
No. Only one.
I don't have to pick one because you can have both.
But the answer is both is not an answer. It's not a valid answer.
I reject your question.
You can't reject it.
I just did.
Can you pick one?
I don't have to.
Why?
Because they're both completely doable.
So LGBTQ rights or economic stability?
Both.
That's not an answer.
Yes, it is.
LGBTQ rights or economic stability?
So bad at
Are you trying
this.
to troll me?
I know,
I'm
he's
just wondering
so.
which one you like more.
I like you both.
I've known
I
so
have
many
both.
dudes
You
like
pick it.
both of these people.
Not in this question.
Too bad.
Why are you trolling me right now?
Because I don't have to choose.
All right. What if I had to ask you gender inclusivity or economic
Why does he think
stability?
this will
You can have
work?
both.
You can't.
He's so
Why do you
dumb.
make this so difficult? I'm trying to pass my final.
Too bad.
Too bad.
But that's not a valid answer.
Too bad.
And then they shake hands and he goes, "Okay, oh my god." If for any of you who haven't seen this before, you're welcome. Like, this was one of the most beautiful things I've seen online in ages. I love this man.
Yep.
Everything about him.
And
his
you are not
Bluetooth.
trying to fucking pass your final. That shit is such a lie. You're trying to make TikTok content about fucking the wokes. Like, don't. That was such a lame lie.
Yeah, with his stupid shirt that says "Find Jesus are my pronouns."
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's possible he had to do some kind of poll for some class, some survey design class, some sociology class, but he wrote a shitty fucking polling question if that's what he's doing. Like, he
Yeah.
deserves to, like, this man's professor was like, go right ahead, you piece of shit. Like, good luck with your stupid poll.
And so the guy who the shirt Jesus shirt guy posted this, right? And which is
Yes.
insane because he thinks this was not him getting fucking demolished.
Yeah. Well, and look at this frame right here. It
Right.
zoomed in on the stim of this guy, my man's zipper stim, which is where he gets his ultimate power.
Yeah, like
Um,
I thought it was so funny because it's so clear, like for what we do here, because it's so clearly like him trying to make him look bad. Like, oh, look at this autist that's like stimming or whatever, and it's like, no, it just makes it so much more based. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
Like, it's what I would fucking like have. I would have edited it the same way, but for the
But with
opposite
love.
reason.
Yes. Oh my god. And it's god, now I'm thinking about that stupid Reddit post that I just found as we were getting ready for this show where somebody accused me of making fun of stimming. But like whatever, like this is what we have to deal with out in the world in general, is people seeing this as like cringy or whatever. But
Right.
this man, he's so perfect. This man is the king of unmasking because he's burst in the bubble, right? He's not playing along with the premise. He's disappointing other people. He's willing to be like the balloon with the air let out of it, like ruin the moment. This person sucks, you know?
Yep.
Like, don't be polite to people who suck. And you fucking stim on that zipper, king. Like,
Yep.
And there's so many details to love. His huge Bluetooth, his sandals with sock, one sock.
Oh my god, yeah, they're oh my god, what the fuck? I didn't he's got one sock on and one not. And it
Yes.
that's so
Yes.
upsetting. But I love that for him.
Yes, he has sandals on with socks, a leather jacket.
Yeah, look.
Yeah, take a look at this. Only one sock on, other foot's bare. He's ventilated. He's protected in the leather. He's got his stim toy built into his fit. He's got the Bluetooth, so he's ready on the go to take calls, and still just gallivant
From his
around
Discord
campus.
kittens.
Yes, from his Discord kittens. Oh my god, literally. He cuts up the kitten's meat and feeds it to her because she's just a silly little baby. For people on Tumblr who remember that You Are My Pockets Daddy.
What? I didn't remember this.
Hold on, let me pull it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. It's absolutely wild that this guy thought he won.
Oh, he got so wrecked. Got so fucking wrecked. Okay, I have the You Are My Pockets Daddy post. It's on my screen share now.
What is this? His face when he says nickel is okay. What does it say?
Okay, so this is a clip from Monsters Inc., the university one, and he said, "On the bus, I found a nickel. I wish I had pockets." And so then Daddy's Rainbow Princess says, "His face when he says nickels is great." And then Mr. Daddy says, "This reminds me of my little girl because her pants never have pockets." And then Baby Girl in Daddy's World says, "Haha, Daddy, you're right. I never have pockets, but that's why you have them. You're my pockets, Daddy."
Oh man. Oh, I love that this has got it's old enough to have the old school Tumblr fucking
The nested reblogs that used to break the site. We stand.
Oh my god.
And yeah, and these two, they just had like a DDLG blog together where like he would like cut up her, chicken fingers and stuff like that. The people couldn't handle it. The people couldn't handle
I think
the
it's
raw
based.
swag.
I think it's based.
Yeah.
I have a lot of love for the current meta is the puppy girls meta, and I have a lot of love for it.
Yes. Puppy girls, ABDLs, diaper furs, we
Mm-hmm.
stand with you.
Yep.
forever.
Absolutely. So what were we? Okay, so so this guy, this really isn't. Oh wait, sorry. I didn't
First
do
layer
the.
of this.
Yeah. This actually isn't really that much piss course. It's just we love this man. There was a little bit of piss course about it, but barely. Mostly just only positive that I saw.
Yeah.
This is a screenshot from his fucking TikTok replies. Ponytail wins. You looked so angry at the end, and then he pulls the "I wasn't angry" with the laugh crying emoji.
Yeah, okay, Elon.
I know. If somebody posts the laugh crying emoji, they are fucking fuming.
Yes.
You build your entire
Uh,
this random person. You build your entire account on the fact that you're malding about people not living in year zero. Goofy, your god is dead.
yes. Uh,
Don't tell
I
the papers I ever got angry.
yes. And this stupid man trying to monetize off this video, but it's, and so we were talking about this before the stream started. Like, I've been trying to find the ponytail guy since this started. I need him.
Yeah.
Um,
So
I
this
would do anything to him.
so this whole tweet
Um,
was brought up by Christy Yamaguchi man is on Twitter, who has a podcast called Jort Center Pod, just to credit where credit is due. Did the real journalism of bringing this to Twitter's attention, and they said been in touch with somebody who knows and works with the debate god and wanted to see if he had any interest in talking on the podcast about the video, and sadly he does not, and I respect the hell out of it. The quote, so he doesn't actually want to know anything about his internet fame. He's very anti-social media, but he knows the video was posted in the first place and that he came out looking good.
I
So,
love him.
oh,
He's so ascended. And this is why he is able to float above it all, because he's not in this awful world of
Yeah.
social comparisons and worrying about how you're evaluated all the time. He just sticks by his fucking shit and his principles. And that's he's the Chad.
yeah.
Fuck the old Chad. This is the face of unmasking. This is the face of being a principled motherfucker.
Yeah.
And I respect his privacy, but
You would do nasty things for that.
I would do
man.
nasty things to him if he wanted. Yeah.
Oh,
Do it all.
just yeah, really great content.
Yes.
I liked just some random things because I pulled up. I don't know if people saw, but I pulled up literally four browser windows full of tabs about all of the discords today. It's a fucking mess.
Oh my God. There's so much. We can go so deep depending on where the spirit moves us.
Yeah. I like depths of Wikipedia said, my only addition to the discourse is that I went to the Wikimedia hackathon this year, and 70% about 70% of the attendees looked like this. At dinner, I'd ask, what have you been up to today? And they'd all respond with mind-boggling complex tech nightmares that they had single-handedly fixed.
Oh my God. This is such a beautiful breed of person. I'm so glad they're still out there. And I'm glad they're staying off social media, because that's what we all
should be doing.
as the rest of today's stream will reveal. That's how we should be living.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's some chats from Vampires Are Creeps that I want to say.
Yeah.
The best part about it was how Ponytail didn't argue against obvious the question trap. He just said what he said, and I need to remember to protect my energy like that.
Yeah.
The broken record technique, like somebody can try and wear you down, but if you just keep saying what you said, that'll work. And Vampires Are Creeps also said, just want to know where I can send him food delivery and some tagless shirts of his choice.
So real.
Oh, you get it. Oh, the texture.
Yeah, one of my Transpeaks, one of my favorite tweets was the effect of this guy single-handedly redeemed a whole type of guy. I totally agree with that. Yeah. I think I have it. The guy that this guy just Tom Bombadiled so hard that he single-handedly seems to have made a dent in neurodivergent and acceptance in general. You love to see it.
Yes. We are Chads now. This is what we're doing, people. Like,
Yeah.
we're done with trying to seem normal and all the people pleasing and shit that entailed. We're gonna chuckle and say too bad from now on.
I thought this was interesting from formerly Juniper. The I refuse your premise guy could have only popped off how he did in 2005 to 2013 and 2021 to the present. There was a dead zone where guys like that would have been eaten alive. 2014 and 2022 and 2020 was a different time that we snapped out of quickly, which I thought was an interesting take, and it feels right to me, but I don't know why that would be, or I don't have more to say on it, but it does kind of feel real.
Yeah, no, like that was like that was honestly a hell zone of both, like, how to say this and not sound like fucking Clementine Morgan, right? Where people were like canceling people, yes, but based on a lot of really dumb, superficial things, and people were obsessed with equating a person's appearance with their morality.
Yeah.
That meeting the like playful misandry thing. So it was like if you were not a conventionally attractive guy, you were just eaten a lot. Like you were assumed that that was bad politics, you know, in the same way that like people like, especially when they talk about politics in the United States, they equate being fat with being like a conservative.
Yeah.
Like there's this you know what I mean? Like that stereotype
Yep.
of like fat, rural, ignorant person, as if that's where any of these problems come from.
I think maybe it's also Gamergate, right? Like,
Yeah.
this guy, I think if this video had been posted in a different circumstance where this guy looked bad, I think everybody would have said that he was a Gamergator. So
Yeah.
and I don't, yeah, I think that like the backlash to Gamergate was, you know, good in that Gamergate was awful and there was clearly a lot of misogyny in especially the game space, and I very much think that Gamergate, you know, is what led to the alt-right movement, which is what led to Trump getting elected. Like, but I don't know. Yeah. So I
The
don't know.
neckbeard thing that they mentioned in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that Transpeaks did. Yeah. I think it was part of that backlash was like people, it went to a really ableist, fucked up place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of like, oh, these people are all basement dweller, neckbeard, whatever. And it was just the wrong target.
Right.
And I think Twitter especially really engendered that. There was like a culture of like just dunking on the appearance of somebody if they sucked. Like, I don't know, like a totally
I think
different
that still
example
really, really happens, and I think it sucks ass.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot, that it's just totally okay to if somebody is shitty, to just make fun of the way they look. And I think I will make fun of how people present themselves. Like if they're shitty and they dress bad, like, you know, I'll make fun of that. Like, I don't care. Or if they like choose a bad haircut or something, I think that's fine. But it's just like, I mean, it's that picture where it's like, you know, you know, are you calling Donald Trump gay and fat, and then it like bounces off to your gay and fat like other people, and that picture has been, that like meme has been so, I don't know, it's seen as like passe, but it's still whether the you know, that graphic of it is cringe or has been used in a cringe way or whatever the fuck, it's still true. Like, it's so weird how people I see it a lot with detransitioners.
Yep.
Where, you know, there will be some horrible shitty detransitioner who's like, you know, the woke mob force masculinized me and now I'm bald, and then everybody makes fun of him for being bald, and it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, yeah, they suck ass and let's make fun of them, and hell, if you want to make fun of their fits, that's fair, like they did that. But if you're making fun of them for being like fat and bald, like, what the fuck?
That's the exact same logic that put a lot of these people on the path to being radicalized by the detrans turf movement, which I'll always specify it's turfs that are the detrans turfs that are the problem,
Right.
not detrans people in general.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
they talk about, you know, oh, your body's being ruined, you're hairy, you're bald, you're all of these things, which that's not a feminist fucking talking point, and it, you know, it doesn't help, it doesn't benefit anyone. It breeds people all these like insecurities. So I do think, yeah, there is this tendency to tear down people's appearances, and like even things like clothing, like if somebody's dressing in a douchey way where it clearly was like a lot of effort for no reason, like Jordan Peterson's Twitter suit or something like that.
Right,
Like
exactly.
that's very different, right, from making fun of somebody for something that could be a sensory thing or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And like, yeah, and like there's just so much classism and stuff wrapped in it often, and how it like manifests too. But I think there was just more concentrated energy to be able to do it when Twitter was thriving more. So it does feel like we are entering into a very new era where not everyone is on the same platform having the same conversation.
Yeah.
And the like the vibe shift that people talked about has kind of changed how people talk about some of these things. And so that's our new king. You know, things have come full circle, and now
Yeah.
dudes like that can be redeemed, which is
Yeah.
great to see.
I'm so glad because I do think, as much as I love this guy, I saw some people being like, can't wait for him to get milkshake ducked, which is like, you know, the classic tweet of like, oh, there's a duck that drinks milkshakes. One day later, oops, we found out the duck is racist, because it's like, I mean, sometimes, you know, like that it's like a weird thing where people will go back into the past and find all this shit to cancel people, and I don't know.
Yeah. It's a fucked up impulse. Why is your first impulse upon seeing someone that you know nothing about, who isn't a public figure, who isn't trying to position themselves as a public figure, to dig into everything they've ever done in the past to see if there's one thing you would take issue with? It's such a fucked up impulse.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's I almost feel like I don't have as good of answers for all this stuff, because that's what the whole stream is about. We'll get into that. If anybody saw the I'm gonna bring later we'll talk about the fucking I Like Girls Jocat video, and the drama that happened there, which is just all about that. Yeah, I was thinking about that Hellerectic, or Hellarctic, about how people were making fun of James Somerton's appearance after the H Bomber guy thing. And I felt like it was like, because at first I felt like people were trying to be respectful, because people were like making fun of his fits and shit, and like making fun of his hair, which to me, I think that's, you know, that's a choice you made. And like, I think it's kind of a low blow to make fun of people, but I don't know, you can make fun of choices that people made.
Yeah, like somebody's shitty suit. It's whatever, you know.
Right. But
Whatever.
then it quickly got into like kind of shaming him for not being like trying to like into more personal fat shamey, you know. So and that shit
Or even
sucks.
like his tone of voice and stuff like that. Like,
Right.
oh, he was never that compelling of a speaker. It's like none of that is what's wrong with him. Like,
right. And it gets into that thing that I feel like, I don't know, we've talked about before, where it's like people are like, oh well, I never liked them because they had bad vibes, and it's like, did they have bad vibes, or did you know, are you like I don't know, homophobic and
yeah,
they're gay, or
yeah.
or fatphobic and they were fat, like whatever.
Yeah, you can't magically intuit what kind of a person someone is. So when anytime somebody's like, "Oh, I always got bad vibes," it's like, okay, so you're just prejudiced against a lot of different kinds of people for not being charming in a certain way, and you're just waiting for them to fuck up.
Yeah.
And you're going to be a mark again the next time somebody who doesn't tick off those boxes for you does something wrong. Like,
Yep.
Great, cool.
So, anyway, this is really important for you in particular to see, Devin.
Oh my god. Ah! Holy shit. Oh my
Yeah.
god. That's
Oh,
so
really
good.
good.
It's like
Really good.
Otacon and Snake are together to create the ultimate autistic creature.
The ultimate Chad.
Oh my god,
Um,
that's so cool. I
I
love him.
I think let me see if I can find it because with all of these fucking things I pulled up, I may have not actually bookmarked it, but uh somebody drew them as a lot of people were referencing Gary or what's 47 from um what's the Venture Bros? Did you watch it? Did you ever watch Venture Bros?
I never did, no.
So he's
Despite
the
the sickos recommending it so much.
yeah, I haven't watched all of it. And but he's like he's a henchman 47 or 41. Because he looks just like it. He's like bigger and is like a nerd, classic comics nerd, and has a brown ponytail like just like that. Let's see if I could. Somebody drew them. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, him and Sergeant
Yes.
Hatred, which was really good.
Oh, this is so good.
I know.
This is really cleansing.
So anyway, um, yeah, here's Fiorelli pointing out the similarities. See, he looks
Oh,
like just like him.
yes.
And his whole
Oh my
arc is
god.
that he's just like he's like a henchman, and there's like him, and then he's got like a taller nerd guy that like they're always together, and they're just like super nerds, and then eventually in the series, like his friend dies, so he becomes like a badass guy and has to take on the like even though he was always just a henchman before, so it really lines up really well.
Oh my god. So empowering. God bless Fiorello also.
Mm-hmm.
One of the real freak posters.
One of the best posters, yeah.
Yeah, one of those people the sickos always say is out there in the mines posting for 2 likes a day, but
Yeah.
he's like the most trained like monk.
Um,
Ah,
so just really good context, or
yes.
content. Uh,
Yeah. Vampires Are Creep says, lately I've met a lot of typical people who are so quick to jump in and protect and align with the weirdo in the room. And I wonder if something is changing or if it's just in my community. I hope it's something changing. It does feel like things have shifted a little bit.
yeah, often trans peaks. Oftentimes, I see autistic men excitingly dumping about their special interests. Get told they are mansplaining, and it breaks my heart. Yeah,
Mm,
that is definitely an old discourse thing that it definitely sucks to see.
yeah. The so much of the like playful misandry bullshit feminism, it just chose targets in the most ableist way, from the neckbeard thing to like calling it mansplaining to info dump or to want to share information with other people. Just there, there was just no way for to like win, to like
Mm-hmm.
really like not prove yourself as safe, because I understand why women have their guard up, but like there's this just attitude of like, yeah, suspicion and like aggression towards like any sign of difference, when it's like, no, those are the people where there's a lot of potential for like community building alongside. Like that's somebody who's harmed by like standards of like masculinity
Mm-hmm.
too. And clearly he sees that because he gets it based on how he responded to that question, so he
Right.
sees how he's in alignment with other people who are gender marginalized. So
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Um. Yeah, so I don't know if there's any more to say about him. We will get a bumper of that. I want to like get bumpers of or, like little sound clips of like every single thing that he says. So it'll take me a second.
Ooh, yeah, it's constant bangers.
Every one is a
Too
banger.
bad.
Both. Yes.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I'll
Add him to
harness
the
that.
dollhouse. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh,
Oh,
that's
and we even
really
have a
good.
full
We have a
we have a
full
full shot of
okay.
him.
Okay, that's happening. That's fucking happening right
Yeah.
now. Oh
Oh,
my god. This is
oh my
a
god.
perfect.
No,
Thank
because
you,
the
a monster. He
Uh,
is the doll.
let's see if I can uh
Oh, Halarctic, if you haven't seen the dollhouse, you're in for a real treat.
yeah, we have to okay, so um there's a lot of work I want to do on this stream, and my health issues make it difficult. But I want to wrap some of this stuff up, and I still really want to do. I want to finish the dollhouse as it is, and like not end it, but I want to take the dollhouse as it is and do what we've been talking about, and do some kind of tournament of all the people. So if you have any ideas for how to do that, please
For the
tell
doll
me because
games,
I need to do that.
we need a bracket system
All
of
right.
some kind.
I'm trying to very quickly see if I can do this on stream. So, yeah, I think we should pivot to your story. If you want to start describing your this actually happened two weeks ago. Oh, wait, did you have a
Sure.
TikTok? Should we do that now or after?
Oh, oh, geez. Let me think. No, we can do this TikTok after because it's
Okay.
not necessarily relevant to this specifically. It's kind of the opposite. It's like a cool neurotypical person.
Oh shit.
For
Okay.
for the first time, but for the first time ever. So we can talk about that later. So okay, so let's start with the very first patient zero tweet. I'll pull that up real quick. So the real old heads.
Do we want to start with the discourse that started your discourse all the way back there?
Yeah, I think that'll be easiest. Though really, history is so deep on this, we could go back at a lot of different points.
Yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, God's favorite princess at the Femiurge tweeted this. What opinion would have you like this? Yes, you are all wrong. And she says trans men are the men of trans people. This tweet has over 1 million views, as you can see, and it set off just an insane amount of discourse and trans misogyny, as things like this typically do, with trans guys saying, "Oh, are you saying I'm privileged?" or "Oh, I'm some kind of weird Schrodinger's man where I'm a man only when I want to say I am and say somebody's misgendering me, but if you project any kind of masculine identity or belongingness with men as a category onto me, I will be very mad at you. I belong everywhere, and but not actually with men, but I am a man. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think that it's an important context is this really came out of the AFAB housing discourse. So to go even a step farther back, like this is not a direct, like this isn't directly talking about anything about that, but it's clearly like sort of riffing on this discourse that is it's one of those discourses that's just always happening on Twitter and Tumblr and all that shit. And it is like people asking for AFAB housing. And it's like,
right.
Why? What? Like, so you want to exclude trans women, but not but include trans men in your house, like, and it's just you know, it's
It's so gross.
it's just bioessentialism again, but wokely.
Yes.
And right, and so this is kind of going off of that, for sure.
Yeah, well, it's not, and it's not just that, right? It's everywhere, and like
Right.
that's why it keeps. It's like, hey lads, we've had this argument last week or whatever, you know, whatever that meme is. It's like
Right.
because on Lex, fucking every fucking day, somebody has a new screenshot of Lex of somebody being like, you know, 25-year-old AFAB non-binary looking for other AFABs, and you know, and I'm gonna say this word for the first time in this stream. We will come back to it. AFAB identified people who
Yeah.
are literally describing themselves as AFAB. AFAB is a part of their identity. They're looking for other people that they identify as AFAB. And they talk about it in the context of these are the people that are safe. It also connects back to gender socialization shit, which is also bullshit. This idea that like only AFAB people experience any kind of gender-based oppression when they're growing up, and so they're the only ones who get it, and they're soft and gentle and apologetic and all that shit. Just equating all of those things, and it keeps happening. And so when usually trans women rightfully call it out and say, hey, no, actually I experienced a lot of oppressive gender formative experiences too, and also I'm a woman, so why am I not welcome in these women's spaces? People freak out.
Sorry, I was trying to, because so I I was trying to find which of my 50 Windows
Well, this is a
Windows.
whole other, because I got into a whole fight with this one too, right?
Yeah, so this was just one of the examples of like the kind of shit that people are talking about. This is a Lex screenshot. Bumble should add a feature where if you say you're interested in non-binary people, you can specify if you're interested in AFABs with short hair and not literal men with dangly earrings and he/they pronouns. Lol.
Yeah, disgusting fucking behavior, and people have been pulling this shit for the longest time. Oh yeah, this tweet too.
Right. Yes, I'm non-binary, but every day I thank the Lord that I was born female, AFAB, a girl. That I have this body, the prettier body, and not the other one I could have been cursed with. I mean, it reads like a fucking Halamede tweet. Like,
Yeah.
this is a Halamede tweet. Like, if Halamede had a slightly different, like, fucked up thing that they were obsessed with.
Yeah, if Halamede was like a turf, yeah, like it's awful and it's enraging, and we'll get into this more later when people say that I'm like gatekeeping people's transness. Like, some of these people, they say that they're trans, they say that they're non-binary, but if everything you do and believe and say goes against trans liberation, it doesn't matter whether you're trans or not anymore. You're not doing transness in any way. You're doing cissexism all
Right.
over again by saying, oh, somebody is their body parts and I am my body parts and these are the superior kind. You're doing a cisgender very hard for a transgender person. Like, you're really sucking.
Yeah. Here's another one. And we're opening by showing these, I'm opening so many cans of discourse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody says, I truly think hormones taking away your sex drive is God's way of cleaning the leaves out of the gutter, which I don't know. See, that's why I don't want to go on T. I love estrogen. I'm sorry. I know I'm trans mask, but I just love being soft and feminine. And it's like, this one is like, I don't know. Cause the whole thing is that, okay. So, well, I don't
this
know.
This is rotten egg shit. I'm gonna say it. It's fucking rotten egg shit.
Yeah.
Like, not to project my own shit onto other people, but I've seen it enough times that I think it is a recurring thing for a lot of trans mask people, where you get told whatever that, like, you know, your value to the world is your like beauty, your softness, your tits, your vagina, all of this shit.
Right.
And then people reproduce that and say that even while saying they're trans as this reason not to transition. Oh, I love being soft. I love having, you know, you hear it a lot with like, oh, I love having tits. They're fun to have. I just wish people didn't gender them. And that can be true.
Yeah.
That is true for some people.
Yeah.
But
to make it clear, like, we are not saying that people, like, trans mask people or people that, like, are, you know, AFAB and trans can't identify with womanhood. Like, that was the core misreading of what, because I think fundamentally most of the discourse around this was bad, not partly not understanding the context and what you were saying, but because you know, this was a deep fucking onion of a discourse that you were commenting on, but also a lot that just, like, bad bad reading comprehension. Like, people didn't understand what you're saying, thought you were saying a different thing, and got really mad, which is classic or classic Twitter. That's
Right.
fucking Twitter in a nutshell. But let's look at your the actual tweet that you quote.
Yeah. So a little bit of back context for this is years ago on Instagram, I said something similar to this. It was not trans men or the men of trans people, which is so perfect and so succinct, you know, no notes. It was that, and it's on my Instagram grid, but it was like, if you are a trans person and you're AFAB, you need to understand that from a privileged perspective, you are the cis man of trans people. Like, you are the ones that are deferred to, listened to, trusted as an authority, given priority, centered. There's lots of spaces for you. You're welcomed. Relative to other trans people, that is your positionality. Like, you're the most privileged among trans people, and that comes with a lot of power to speak over people and hurt people, and you need to be aware of that. Like, that's the long version of it. But the short version was, if you're AFAB identified and that's a really important thing to you and that's what you're putting out first, you are the cis men of trans people. And when I said that, I did not get anywhere near the level of attack that Femiurge and, like, all of these other people who, trans women who critique this kind of stuff, tend to get. Like, they get death threats and shit.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure everyone was calling her a TERF, and specifically, I believe that she posted a death threat. Someone had yeah, that at least one person had sent a death threat. Yeah. So yeah, lots of dogpiling very quickly.
Right. And so I made a tweet that at the time it got almost no engagement because nobody's on Twitter anymore. You know, that's fine. That's you know, that's great actually.
It's because you're shadow banned by Elon Musk specifically.
When you post something bad, you are, you know, you're shadow banned and you're a victim. So let me just scroll back and find it. But it's basically me saying, like, oh, it's so interesting how I can say AFAB identified people who identify as AFAB. They say that's a core part of their identity, not
Right.
people who were AFAB'd past
Right.
tense.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thing that happened in the past. So, you know, that's not the same thing as identifying as it. Well, here's the quote retweet of it. I've said before that AFAB identified people are the cis men of trans people. And what do you know? I don't get anywhere near as vociferous and negative a reaction. Wonder why. And this original tweet, it has like 2 notes. So anybody who reacted to this afterwards, weeks later, and this was tweeted in November 21st.
Jesus, all the way back in November.
Yeah, little fanfare, little reaction. So you can't really say I was hurting anybody with this, which is what many of the claims would eventually come to be, that I was hurting non-binary people. But nobody saw it. It was an inside conversation for insiders that was made in the middle of this fracas over trans men being the men of trans people and
Right.
seeing trans women getting attacked for saying it. And it's just me off to the side saying, hey, you know, we've been saying this for a long time, a lot of us, and look at the sexism innate and, like, who gets criticized for saying it and who doesn't. So
right. And I'm trying to, yeah, I think I think the issue, I guess, to go back to what the issue people had with the original tweet, not your tweet, but Femiurge's tweet of trans men are the men of trans people, right?
Yeah.
Is that there is basically what is read into it is all trans men are bad because men are bad.
Right.
Because
Right.
there's this idea of men are all men are all bad. And so
Right.
by claiming that cis men are the, that trans men are the cis men of trans people, you're saying, oh, well, they're the bad trans people.
Right.
When that is such like a just twisting of what the point this user is trying to make, and really goes to show the sort of the internal biases, or not even biases, just like the beliefs of the kind of people that are hating on this. Because I don't think that is something I think me and you are like really vocally opposed to, is this idea that like all men suck, and like you were saying, playful misandry. Like, I think it's not. I don't think it's not helpful at all. And it is such a like bad distillation of feminist critique of masculinity, because what is bad is toxic masculinity, and unfortunately, if people, I was thinking about this the other day in the context of, my physical therapist has like talks a lot about her own life, and just, she's white cis straight, has a white cis straight husband, and it's hard for me not to be like, just assume he's not a great husband, like sort of based on what the things she says, but more of me like reading behind the lines of like, oh, is he saying that because he's got toxic, he's actually, he's like expecting to do this or whatever. And I, unfortunately, I think that's a fair thing for me to assume, because so many cis men are so misogynistic, because of, we live in a society, we live in a misogynistic society, and it's not only men, women, some of the most misogynistic people, and like people, the one of the people I have met that upheld toxic misogyny more than anyone else was a fucking lesbian that I worked with. Like, she had so much toxic masculinity, and it's like, but it's women, it's trans people, everyone has this shit inside them. But when you are more privileged, it's a lot easier to go without examining it. And, or excuse me, when you have privilege, it's a lot easier to go without examining it. So it's sort of this like double thing, where the kinds of people that both feel that like hold the view that men are bad, and also use their AFAB identification to try and opt out of that, to be like, well, I'm a special man because I'm AFAB.
I can't be a man because men are bad, and it becomes this self-defeating thing. And that's what I'm getting at with like with the rotten egg comment, that like there are people who they've painted themselves into a corner where they subscribe to all men as individuals are bad. That's their feminism, like individuals rather than systems. And so then they can't allow themselves to just be a man, because they can't cope with that reality, and they can't cope with the possibility of having privilege either. And so then if anybody points any of those things out, they just lash out in the ways that fucking talking about Gamergate, cis men fucking did when they were confronted on their own sexism. It's literally the same shit.
Right. So so basically what you said was, what your tweet was, AFAB identified people are the
AFAB
cis.
identified people are the cis men of trans people. And also, like, you know, I'm referencing the fact that I said this years ago and wasn't like a big deal. You know, I had people being annoying in my comment section because I still had comment sections at that time. But, you know, not
Right.
death threats, not
Right.
people accusing me of being non-binary phobic, though that would come later.
Right.
Uh,
And so my point is, like, you're basically saying the same thing. You're saying maybe a more specific version of the same thing.
Yeah. Well,
But
broader in a way, because it's not really
right.
just, in my mind, just trans men doing it. It's these people who cling to, because of my gender assignment, I am innocent of privilege and innocent of sexism, whatever. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's that. I think that's pretty much. I'm trying to like start with just like the like what this tweet was and what the discourse was and why you tweeted it. And I think that makes the most sense. And I'm glad that we're talking about it here, because I think a lot of people were like that Callisto, diversity win. This misogynist is a queer woman.
Right.
But somebody said Twitter is where nuance. Cassie goes queerly. Twitter is where nuance goes to die, and it's really true. And I don't think it's only Twitter. I think it's social media in general. But I think that is a big part of one thing that we talked about even before we started doing the show, of what we wanted to do. Because I do think when this discourse happens, it's because usually there's something actually important to set that needs to be communicated here, and it's just like layers and layers and layers of bad faith readings on a lot of times on both sides, but just because of the way social media works. And so I like taking these discourses and be like, what the fuck is, like, let's actually pull this apart and not have. But anyway, so that was the tweet that you twote, and and then you were canceled.
Yeah. So I tweeted that tweet and nothing happened. First of all, because I have non-mutual notifications turned off, so I don't see normally when people talk shit about me, because I don't care. And that's how you become, you know, uncancelable. But you know, the first tweet was not a big deal. And then weeks later, there is this Twitter user, and this is for the most part people who were doing like hateful, fucked up stuff we aren't going to identify by name, but because this person has like made good and apologized, and they're like are a streamer and stuff like that, like just for context, with like the same size following as me on Twitter, so it's lateral violence. This user Potatum, who she is a cis autistic woman. Oh yeah, you have it blacked out. But
actually no, you did that, or this is how you sent me the screenshot, I think. So I don't know, I don't remember how this one, but yeah, we'll show other tweets from that.
And she has since deleted this tweet, you know, and had apologized and showed an interest in learning about trans misogyny. Really beautiful job. So like I want to give her that, and I also want to talk about her in the context of her being a streamer who's, you know, whatever, a semi-public facing figure, because that definitely figures into this. She's autistic. She's a cis woman, ADHD or ADHD. She had streamed herself reading some of my books. She talked about my book positively before in the past, as an autistic person. And some of her followers, a couple of people, one or two people, came to her in her mentions and said, hey, what are you doing platforming this person? He's said all these transphobic things. And then sent her a screenshot. And basically we're trying to guilt and pressure her into calling me out. And this is a pretty toxic dynamic that people get into. It's very easy to fall for if you're new to being a semi-public figure online. If you still think you need everybody to be happy with you all the time, it's very easy for people to manipulate you into retweeting things that you don't really know about, boosting things that you don't really know the context.
And I think the basis of that urge is probably a good thing. Like, I think that, I mean, you know, we're both white, and I think it's fair that if, you know, if we're saying things that actually are, you know, have racist undertones, or like maybe we retweet, I think a lot of like depending on what it is and how it's phrased, because I think there's so much like this specific kind of thing where it's like really annoys me, because it's like, oh well, you're promoting this person that has this transphobic thing or whatever, and it's like,
Yeah.
do you expect me to like go through every person I retweet is ever done? And so I think this particular kind of thing is really,
I think it can go badly with racism too. I've seen people,
oh absolutely,
because people are so like, I think no matter what, no matter your positionality, it can't be predicated on, I don't want to ever fuck up, like, or ever make any person of these other groups mad at me, because it's like, you actually have to learn to understand how these things work. Like, if I'm going to talk about racism, I do need to understand some of the in community conversations if I'm going to talk about it, and I feel like I have a responsibility to, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, so it still always extends beyond somebody telling me what I should or shouldn't post, even if they are someone more directly affected by the thing, because I don't know who they are. I don't know if they're
right,
trustworthy.
right,
Like, this was a trans person asked her, a cis woman, to make this post, and that trans person didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. You know what I mean?
right.
Like, so like, yeah, does it come from a conscientious place? Yes, but I do think it's a lesson almost anyone with an audience has to learn, is you can't fawn. It's like a fawn response also. Like, you
Yeah,
can't fawn over people even if they're from a different identity group as you, because sometimes they're going to be wrong, or you don't know who they are, you don't know their judgment, you don't know where they're coming from. Like, you have to do that research yourself. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
otherwise it goes in a lot of weird places, and you know, certainly seen a lot of people just be falsely accused of all kinds of awful shit. So
Yeah, and I think that there are elements of this, like, and I feel like generally trans women are so of like, I don't know, so attacked in this way of the like,
mhm.
I don't even know what, like, weaponized like call outs.
Yeah,
And this is
very much
so
so.
right. This is so much that and this was like a very small version of it. And it so much goes to show like this, you know, you being a man, you got so much less of this, that like you didn't get fucking death threats,
No.
but like, you know, Femiurge said something like way less uh I mean,
It's less inflammatory. It
right.
is. Yeah.
Like, I think you were purposefully, I mean, it was bait. Like, you were purposefully
Yeah.
saying something that was true, you know, I agree with, and, you know, not something you did, you know, something you actually believed, but in a way to like kind of bait people that you don't agree with you, to point out how much less people care when it's a trans man, when it's a man versus a woman, you know, even a trans man versus trans woman. And even when people found this and it turned into discourse, I knew we had to talk about this when I was getting it on my For You tab. I was getting actually not even direct quote tweets of it. I was just getting like quote tweets of bad takes on, like, people were like vague tweeting about your tweet, and then I was seeing like quote tweets of those tweets even though they didn't mention you or anything directly. It was just like that shit was like that it gotten big enough that I was just like unrelated seeing it on my fucking timeline.
Yeah. There were shockwaves. People not in the original notes, just referencing it a lot. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Wait, what were we just talking about? I started reading the chat and then I blanked.
Just the idea that you like, this is so much
Oh, the
less
bait. Yeah.
right. This is like you were purposefully baiting and purposely doing it more inflammatory than this trans woman who basically said the same thing, and so much less happened to you, which like proves your
Right.
point.
Yes. And even the fact that eventually Potatum apologized and was like very, like, within a day actually apologized. That's just not what happens when trans women say things inflammatory or very carefully worded. Which we'll get into all that.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty good apology. It was definitely she got
Yeah.
scared. She got
Well, and that is something that is frustrating about all this is like it's this like you're like a wind-a-sock if you're too worried about just who's in your notes being angry, because it's like, are you actually sorry, or are you sorry people are mad at you and you're just trying to do what people will not get mad at you for? But in this
Right.
case, she did really say like, oh, what are some suggested readings on trans misogyny? I didn't know about that. So that's rad. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cassie Goes Queerly said in the chat, the left is saying believe X people, so believe trans people, believe black people, etc., leads to these side conversations asking public-ish figures to condemn people. I think,
Yeah.
it's just too oversimplified because it's which trans people,
Mm-hmm.
which people of color, like
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, especially I think about it. Well, with trans people, fucking what's her name? Sports trans lady. Caitlyn Jenner exists, Listen to trans
yeah,
people doesn't mean listen to Caitlyn Jenner. It doesn't mean listen to Blair White. So
yeah,
just being part of a minority does not, you have to, it's classic.
Ye-
Well, my black friend says that I can say the N word. Like,
right. Yeah, I think we really do have to abandon that phrase in most contexts. I think, except for when it is something that's very experiential, right? Like detransition, I think is one where it is like, let's literally actually listen to detransition people. Like we're talking about a specific experience. What is that like? But if you're talking about like a whole political orientation, somebody's life experiences is not a guarantee of their political orientation. That's what got us into this whole mess. People think that because somebody was female socialized, which isn't a thing. But let's say even that it was, that makes you a good person who understands sexism and how to fight it better. And suffering is not morally cleansing.
yeah,
It does not, it's not a political education. So I don't, my first question these days for most things is not, am I going to find a person who's a member of a group and see what they think? It's, okay, what political writing about this stuff from an anarchist and communist lens is relevant and trustworthy for me, like, but people don't have that framework for like understanding things on their own, and so it gets them casting about, taking contradictory viewpoints just based on like who's angry in like a cool way online right now and who's being attacked. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's very
And
messy.
again, it's very much social media that anger gets clicks, and
Yeah,
very much that it is intentionally designed to, like, this stuff, like, things that get more views and more clicks and more responses get pushed to a wider audience, and then the wider audience has a even lesser understanding of what's happening, and will get even more mad because they have even less information, and just
right.
on and on and on.
Yeah,
Which I think was a really big part of, like, almost, I don't think just about everybody I saw who was criticizing you. I mean, there certainly were people that actually were taking issue with the point you were actually making, but almost entirely it was people not understanding what AFAB identified meant, what you meant by that.
yes, which, again, best phrasing in the world, no. Was this intended for a wide audience of people who had never heard of trans misogyny before? No, but context collapse on social media. The tweet did what it was supposed to do the first time around. Once it was dredged out of context by random other people and sent to cis women on Twitch,
Right.
that's when it became a problem. But yes, AFAB identified means people who identify as AFAB.
Right.
And
The most common thing I kept seeing was, like, people are like quote tweeting you like, AFAB identified by who? And it's like, by themselves. Like, that was the
right.
point.
Yeah. Yes, that's people who think that that's an important telling part of their identity tend to be the people who behave in these ways.
People that put AFAB in their bio, right? Like,
Right. And then there were people in the replies that were like, nobody does that. And it's like, okay, look at these housing postings, look at Lex, look at people on Twitter talking
Yep.
about how their soft feminine body makes them a better person or whatever.
Yeah, like the
Like,
posts I shared earlier. Like,
yeah, right. It very much is a thing and it is a problem. But also I think this
There-
backlash happens even when you Sorry.
the one that I saw really in particular, and I think it was actually a quote tweet to, because so basically you quote tweeted that original post and was like, you know, somebody tried to cancel me. not that you actually said that, and you like kind of broke down what you actually meant. And there was a quote tweet on one of those that, you know, I won't show the specifics, but it was literally like somebody that was non-binary and was just like, I I don't I don't even understand what this person is trying to say, but I just get such bad vibes off of it. And it like literally that's what it said. And it was
Yeah.
like that it was
maybe
so
don't weigh in.
right, exactly. And it was so telling. And I mean, this person is probably young. Like I'm hoping, or you know, maybe they just realized that they were transgender or whatever. And it's like instead of just getting mad about it because the vibes are off, like try to actually understand what is being said and decide if you agree with it or not, and don't just like the vibes are off. And that
Yeah.
just seemed to be almost the entirety of the conversation was stuff like that. And it was so interesting that, you know, they just said it, you know, and
Yeah.
and it was that, and it was mostly people not understanding that what you meant by AFAB identified, and because it had been taken out of context. And then I really liked uh where was this a response to? Yeah, I won't show this person. Absolute no explanation will excuse the use of AFAB identified trans people are the cis men of trans community. That's transphobic just to start, but there's actually a lot to unpack. No, literally no justification for that sentence ever. I don't care. He wrote a popular book or is trans himself. He took a pot shot at people more clockable than him. AFAB identified by who, bitch? What a disgusting thing to say. Trans and autistic Twitter have made a complete mess lately.
Clockable. Okay, first of all, since when is that used for that population? First of all, you're already appropriating an experience that is a trans femme one, which is like, of course.
Yeah.
Clockable as what? Like the gender you were like that you were assigned at birth that you identify as? Like what?
Yeah.
Oh my god. There's it's so and also even that tweet was in a whole thread that explained what the AFAB identified meant. But since
Right.
Potato posted a screenshot rather than quote tweeting the actual tweet, people couldn't access the context where they could read the whole. And I'm sure that's because that's how somebody sent it to her, was just as a screenshot. But I do actually explain multiple times in that thread what AFAB identified means.
Right.
But at the same time, even if I had said things perfectly, people would still be mad about this because, you know,
Right.
a couple of months ago, I got into a total flame war on fucking Tumblr with people about saying that trans men often have privilege and that trans misandry doesn't exist. Like,
which is it's the same conversation. It's
the same
semantically
conversation.
different, and the arguments are different because so much of the bad faith reading is just semantic, but fundamentally the same conversation.
Yeah. So there are people that get really offended if you say, oh, you actually do have privilege relative to trans women and sometimes relative to women as an entire gender class. Though, is that complicated based on how somebody is read by other people? Yes, it is complicated. But like sometimes even when you don't pass as a cis man, you still get prioritized. You really do. Like, I can't say it's true for everyone. The racial component in this is huge and important to talk about. It's really dangerous to be a black man, and so it's really dangerous to be a black trans masc.
Yeah.
Those things are important to talk about, but like there are privileges that men get, and that includes trans men. But it outrages a lot of people, and it makes them say a lot of violent, sexist shit, even if you say it very delicately. So,
yeah. It's definitely it's an interesting little snapshot of the way in which internet discourse sucks, and also the way that, you know, this kind of like people have these beliefs about trans women specifically, because fundamentally what people are doing when they're identifying as AFAB is, you know, if they're somebody who is, you know, like non-binary or transmasc, but they are identifying with, because that, I think I said it before, but to reiterate, what we are not doing is saying people should not, like, AFAB people or people that like are transmasc or anything like that should not be identifying with womanhood, because fuck gender. Like, it was so funny how many people were calling you transmedicalist based on this
Right.
take, when it's like literally you are like a gender abolitionist and like as
Right.
far away from that as possible. Like, people should be fucking with their genders more. I think people that are basically cis should be like, I don't actually have a problem with people that are basically cis, like using they them pronouns, like, which
Yeah.
are actually a
Look
lot
it
of the
up.
people that I think we would criticize for doing shit like this. But it's not actually a problem. Like, I'm really happy when people that are basically cis are like, well, I'm gonna like identify as somewhere outside the binary because my gender is, you know, whatever. It's like, that's good, actually. Like that, you know, we've talked a lot in the
That's
past
good.
about how, like, there's not less resources when that happens. Like,
Right. But you do have to actually, if you're doing that out of some like solidarity with trans people, or because you do think, oh, hey, let's get a little fucky with it, that means you also do have to question whether somebody's birth assignment or their biology, whatever you want to call it, affects who they are as a person. And that's like, there's nothing wrong with being transmasc and identifying with womanhood, but like, there comes a time, I think, in every trans person's experience from that realm, from that side of things, where one has to ask yourself, am I identifying with this softness and femininity and these qualities because I feel an affinity with womanhood? Or like, do I identify with anything kind of womanly because I feel an affinity with womanhood, because I see some belongingness there? Or are you doing it because society told you that you have to, told you that that's what your body is? And that's a very different thing, you know, like identifying with the gender you were assigned at birth only because you were assigned that at birth, or only because of the body parts you have. That's not the trans like experience. That's not, it's incompatible with that viewpoint. You can feel an affinity with womanhood, whatever that means for you, butch womanhood, femininity, whatever. But that's
right.
If it's only predicated on you having a vagina as a baby, that's going to shut out a lot of other people who also feel that affinity. So like, you have to be clear with yourself about where that comes from. Otherwise, you are going to make all kinds of like, it's going to hurt yourself, because a lot of us go down this path of like, oh, I don't want to become a scary, hairy man, so I'm not going to transition. And there, you know, some people don't want to transition, and that's fine. But there are people who we deny ourselves that because of these weird ideas of what it means to be a man. So it fucks us up when we think that way. And then we also project it out onto others who have some of those qualities. And it just hurts everybody, and it hurts the whole community.
I think that there's this layering of, it's this funny thing where, oh, thank you so much for subscribing, Seb.
Thank you, Seb. Good to see you.
Like, there's this, I think there's this weird thing that in community conversations we'll do, where it's like, oh, thank you so much, Emma. Thank you so much. We almost got another hype train going. Really appreciate people subscribing. Where it's this weird thing where like this layered thing of like sexism exists and misogyny exists, and that is the biggest, you know, the biggest share of like what people experience. But then it becomes in these like in these online feminist leftist spaces, it's like, we need to normalize men like being masculine. It's like, because that's the way the discourse goes, is because it's a reaction to the popular culture. Like, it's it becomes very one-sided against that, and it's like, okay, well, actually, we need to normalize this thing that is actually very normal. But there is truth to that.
Oh, thanks, Eric.
All right, thank you. That Seb gifted a tier 1 sub to Seb.
I was gifted it. Oh, thank you.
Thank you
Seb.
so
I'm glad
much.
Eric got it. Yeah. Awesome. You're so kind. Bezos bucks.
Give us those Bezos bucks. We love it. So, and I think that is this like all men are bad or is kind of a victim of that, and it's also partly because weaponizing femininity in the way like womanhood in the way that AFAB identified people are in with like AFAB only housing and stuff like that is we have to remember a result of misogyny. Like
right.
The reason that specifically white women can weaponize their femininity, and this is a thing that has gotten brought up of like this the classic example is white women weaponizing their femininity, their white womanhood to convict like 12-year-old black boys of looking at them wrong and getting them lynched or whatever.
Right.
Like that's the example, and it's the same thing. And the reason that white women can do that is that they is because of misogyny. We live in a misogynist society that sees women as unable, and one of the things that they're unable to do is like bad things. So it's the same reason. It's the same reason why women are much more likely to get custody of their children. Like that's a bad
thing. It's
their
job. Like,
right.
Yeah.
And but that is a fucking misogynistic thing that then benefits women in this way. And so when women use their like quote unquote privilege for this, it is misogyny that they are like utilizing. And that is the same thing that the same like dynamics that is this AFAB identified people are doing. They're weaponizing misogyny, like weaponizing misogyny against themselves, sort of to like be free of sin. And then it's also even more weaponized in the trans community, in the same way that like white women are weaponizing their white femininity against black men. It's the same thing in the trans community where it's like, yes, women are it's all because of misogyny, and trans men experience the misogyny. Like let's not like let's actively say that, because it's totally true. Trans men are not all seen as passing, and trans men experience misogyny even if they don't experience trans misogyny, which is a different thing. Like
right. Yes.
Intersectional feminism. Like we have to it's not a contest, it's that everybody has all of this constellation.
It's a different positionality. Yeah.
Right. And so people don't they are identifying with being AFAB in the same way to weaponize that femininity, to weaponize that misogyny against people that I'm kind of circling the same point, but I think it's also the same thing TERFs do. And I think like because it is very much biological what's the word? We were just saying it like biological essentialism, because it's the same thing that TERFs say. I mean, the TERFs' basic ideology is that men are evil and men are like fundamentally bad, and so trans women or men dressing up as women to get into women's spaces are necessarily doing it to trick women and rape women and all that stuff. And it is fundamentally it is hard to get people to understand that layer cake, because from TERF's white woman perspective, they're the minority. They have their whole life they have been victims of misogyny, and that's real. I don't blame J.K. Rowling or any of those fucks for feeling like like they're victims of like structural like sexism because they're women. But
Yeah.
you're using that same fucking structure to gatekeep trans women, to say that trans women are socialized male. Like, that's the whole point of this, is that trans women are socialized male, and then they are like have the evil of men because they were socialized men, and so they'll never be AFAB. They'll never be socialized female, and they'll always have this.
Yeah. Well, part of the problem with white feminism as an ideology is how individualistic it is in these ways that end up hurting even the women who benefit the most from it, right? Like,
Right.
going back to that fear of white womanhood as being in need of protection example, when we look at the actual statistics, white women are one of the least victimized groups in the world. Like,
Right.
white men experience more violence, men of color sure experience a lot more violence, women of color experience dozens of times more violence than white women. White women are one of the most least likely to be victimized, particularly by strangers, right? They don't experience much violence from just random people out in the world. The outside world is just statistically not much of a threat to your average white woman. Who is a threat to the average white woman? The people that they turn to for protection from the outside world. So their dad, their boyfriend, their brother, their boss, their priest. It's a belief in the outside world as scary that actually keeps white women subjugated. It keeps them relying on these men, the power, and making appeals to the men with power around them, who statistically are the most likely to hurt them because they are leveraging that power over them. And like, that's when we zoom out, that's how abuse works writ large. That's how oppression works writ large. It's who has power over you systematically that is gonna hurt you, that's gonna abuse that power.
Right.
So the J.K. Rowlings of the world and so many other, white ladies who listen to too much true crime and are not, constructive consumers of it and all of that other stuff, like, they are only focused on their own personal safety and the drama of it, of like, carrying your keys and your pepper spray to your car. Do real threats exist? Yes, but you've had this boogeyman created for you, and you don't see your solidarity with black women, with trans women, with anybody else, because what do they turn to feel safe? Wealth, or like a husband or a father figure, somebody that's going to protect them. And those things, whiteness, those things keep you isolated. They keep you weaker, and it's the same thing, which is why I use the same language for it when we're talking about trans issues. There are trans people who want to cling to what society told them they have to be at birth, and they cling to that instead of turning towards other trans people and listening to them and learning about their struggles and taking steps to reject the enforced gender binary. Instead, they say, oh no, actually this binary is fine. I don't want it applied to me. I want to be free of it for myself.
Yeah.
But also I'm gonna do everything I can to like reify it. Thanks for subscribing, Stacy.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Stacy, and thank you so much, Anarcho Hobbitist.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you everybody so much.
Yes, and I'll see you tonight, Stacy.
And
in Ohio.
God, good luck. I did lots of great stuff in the chat that I want to get to some of it. Trans Peaks, my hottest take is cis men experienced misogyny when they fail to live up to the ideal male standard. I think that's absolutely true. I totally agree with that. And I think it's like, it's the thing where it's like nobody cares about women cross-dressing. Like, tomboys are, not to say that being a tomboy is totally not like totally accepted, but
it's not seen as like perverted and dangerous in the same level, for sure.
Right. And that, again, is just misogyny. It's okay for women to want to be men because being a man is obviously what you want.
Right.
and men can't cry is misogyny, devaluing of someone seen as feminine. Absolutely. I think that so much of toxic masculinity is just misogyny applied to men.
Mhm.
Like, you are not allowed to be anything that is feminine, and I think this is a huge part of like the male fucking loneliness thing, which is a whole other discourse, but it's like, you are not allowed to be feminine in any way, and that includes having fucking emotions and actually being close to people. It's crazy that we live in a society where men aren't supposed to like touch each other.
Mhm.
That shit is fucking wild and very, very much unique to not solely unique to Western white culture, but like more unique. A lot of other cultures are not like that, and it's fucking misogyny. And
Yeah.
it really is makes it hard to, Vampires Are Creeps says, I'm a brown cis woman with very typical masculine traits, and I've spent a lot of time scrutinizing my gender because of how people react to me. I finally came to the conclusion that people's reactions to me don't define my gender, but it doesn't change the fact that I am not having the same experience as white cis women, and it makes me absolutely nuts with irritation. Yes.
Yeah, and this is a good kind of complexifying factor for us to keep in mind when we talk about like how masculinity in women is more accepted.
Right.
It is only up to a certain point, right? Like
Right.
black trans masks talk about this a lot. The second people start seeing you in a more masculine light, they're more afraid of you. They're more likely to call the cops on you. They're gonna, might kick you out of the women's restroom, even if you're just a butch lesbian who's black. That has happened to a lot of black butches, and I think it's because gender itself is also racialized, right? Like
Right.
people associate having darker skin with being more masculine. You can see it in the porn people draw, you can see it in drag makeup even. Like it's this really insidious thing, like game character design, like darkness is considered inherently more masculine, and
I
therefore like
think
scarier and more dangerous.
yeah, the classic example I think is Michelle Obama being called trans
Hmm.
because of her arms. Like,
Yeah.
and thank you
Yeah.
so much, Quarian8, for subscribing. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
You're all
thank
so
you. And
sweet.
yeah, now you got the dump trucks. So yeah, there's a complexity there where and I've heard this from other like butch lesbian friends of mine who are trans misogyny exempt. They're not trans women, but if they're tall, if they're fat, if they are brown, people are more likely to be scared of them and to be this threat of violence looming over them because all of those things are associated unfairly, unrealistically in people's minds with masculinity in this, we see you as having more power and so we hate you for that. And it does a number on a lot of people, and yeah, it's just good to acknowledge for sure.
Yeah, and how much of a part all this stuff is of
Right.
a part of all this stuff is, because I think it's very classically, and not only I'm sure that there are AFAB identified black people that do the same kind of shit, but I think it's really a big the people that do most of this stuff that we're talking about are very typically white people that are using that same white womanhood, white women tears to victimize people that are more oppressed than them, and that means it also means white trans women, but especially means um, black trans women and
Hmm.
black trans people of all kinds. And
Right. Thank you for gifting a sub, V Bunnies.
yes,
Being very generous on this holiday season
thank you so much.
stream.
It really means a lot. I
Yeah,
really
yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah. The support is awesome. But yeah, it really does illustrate how all of these things are inextricably linked.
Yep.
That you have this humanity, and it's also that duality we've talked about before of like you're either seen as someone who deserves support or you're seen as someone who can receive freedom, in how we treat like kids, disabled people, elders, and things like that. It's like, and so people who have the ability to weaponize white womanhood, that's another way that I'll say it, sometimes cling to that status because that's when people are deferential to you.
Yeah, and I think white trans women also are are not exempt from that in the same way
Right.
that trans men are not exempt from the kinds of behavior that men engage in. Trans women, especially trans white women, are certainly uh I are certainly guilty of doing the shit white women do. And that
Yeah.
includes weaponizing white womanhood, and like that fucking happens. Like, so
I'm thinking of is it Cheryl Clymer? You know, she's like super liberal. She was tweeting some really like very just racist stuff about the Palestinian resistance, you know, and like fear mongering about like, oh, you know, brown people assaulting white women, that kind of narrative and stuff. Like it's a tool that like if you have enough. Charlotte, yeah, thank you, Charlotte Clymer. Um, Again, a person's identity is not a reflection of their politics, and so sometimes we have, or like by itself. So sometimes we have some like liberal white ladies
yeah.
will pull that shit if
Yeah.
they can get away with it.
Oh, hi, Devin. I follow several
Hey,
therapy
Devin.
accounts by cis women therapists, and a lot of them put out content that is basically always painting the actions of men as inherently manipulative. The harm women experience from men is always painted as intentional, but they never talk about the way women can intentionally try to harm men in response to harm that was genuinely unintentional, and that an open convo could clear up and help. Yeah. Again, it's just doing a bioessentialism. Like,
Yeah.
it's not helpful, like, at all.
And we've talked about this before in the context of therapy, like therapy teaching people these self-advocacy skills that sometimes go too far and become basically here's how to gaslight people back
Right.
kind of skills, and that's individual, you know, victory rather than collective liberation.
Right. I mean, that's fundamentally that is like, I mean, that could be like the subheading of our show is like, it's like you have to
Basically.
look beyond individual liberation and look at collective liberation, no matter what the fuck you're talking about. And yeah. And the, just men are bad is sort of, it's part of that. Men need to be liberated too. Men,
Right.
Palestinian men are being murdered in Palestine just as much as women and children.
And sexually assaulted and degraded, all of those things, subjugated.
Yep.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah, Trans Peaks. Currently working with my therapist on how my own internalized trans misogyny made me easily susceptible to enduring abuse because of those narratives. Yeah.
It's so, I've heard so many horror stories so many times of, you know, oh, my partner who does not experience trans misogyny basically just guilts me into doing all of the chores around the house because I had male socialization, which no, you didn't, you know, like, and like all of these, it's, and they recreate sexist breakdowns of things where it's the trans woman having to do all of the emotional and like domestic labor, among other things. Like,
yeah, it's Farrar says my abuser used to quote Instagram therapists when explaining why it was okay for her to hit me. I'm so sorry.
So sorry.
No, that's exactly what we're talking about. It's Farrar, not at all. I'm glad you are out of that situation because it's just it's the same shit that we're talking about here.
Yeah, and that really shows like, because somebody else said something in the chat about basically, oh yeah, Cassie Goes Queerly just said so much of IG therapy accounts is just training for learned victimhood. Yeah, this narrative of like there's narcissists in the world, there's evil men in the world, there's categories of people, and if you're not one of those types of people, you can do whatever you want to outsmart them and outwit them. Dating and love are this adversarial experience, and that you're supposed to win. It's so dark and fucked up.
Yeah.
And it can go some incredibly horrible places.
Yep. Just take a minute, everybody, and make sure you're not doing a biological essentialism. Just
yes, that's
just
a
don't
good start.
Like, I mean, it's funny when we talk about the bottoms drive like this, and tops
Bottoms,
drive like this.
Bottoms drive like this into a wall.
It's
No.
funny and we could do it, but you have to realize
But
it's
it's
like
not real.
it's not real. You're doing a
faux.
biological biological essentialism again.
Yeah, like I thought we were all joking, and then you realize some people actually believe it, and it's very jarring and
Ugh.
upsetting.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
But anyway, I love these conversations. I
Yeah.
always feel a little gross being like, let's do a show about Twitter drama. but it's so interesting because there's actually this stuff that is really important to talk about, and that's why people are fucking mad about it, is because even the people that are mad about it for the wrong reason, like they're mad about it because they feel, like their shit is being threatened. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
sometimes the people in power need to have your shit threatened. I really
Yes.
hope that, because there was a bunch of fucking people that really, like I said, they looked at it and they're like, I don't understand it, but I it gives me a bad vibe and I hate it. And I really hope that some of the people that are that watch this are some of those people, because I understand. I totally understand. Like, I mean, you're posting bait. Like you're trying to get under people's skin, but the right people, like on purpose. And it's like, I really hope those people can, like, some of those, at least one, if there's one person who currently like identifies as AFAB and it's you're questioning it, like that's good, and we love you. Like you're not wrong. Your identity isn't wrong. Just like, I hope you can kind of understand the full context of what is happening when you do that, and why we're criticizing it, and how we're not trying to criticize your identity. We're trying to criticize like specific actions and specific,
And just understanding these things beyond your own position. And like,
right.
To a lot of people's credits, there were people in those replies that were like, now I understand. Like they had it broken down and explained to them, and they were like, oh, I didn't know about this. I have a lot to think about. I never really thought about why I'm using this phrase or why I'm thinking in this way. Like there are a lot of people. Every time I do this bullshit, like I always think, man, I probably went too far. I was being too Typer-Durden with it. I was being too snarky. But then there's always people that are like, no, this helped. And it's like, okay, well.
Oh my God, that's right. People were talking shit because you're
Because
using it. People were, which is amazing. Because if people don't know that, I made that up. It was actually literally a typo, which is very funny. We were playing fucking Quiplash or something, and I said, and I tried to type in Tyler Durden, and I fucking accidentally typed Typer Durden, and Devin thought it was so hilarious, and it was like, I have to admit that was just a typo, which kind of made it better. Because if you're not familiar, on Twitter, Devin's display name.
Display name is Typer Durden, which is my like evil side when I'm in discourse. I have that on my screen share that takes somebody about it if you want to show it.
Hey, hi Jet. Yes, absolutely. Oh, yes, Tyler Durden is the not the protagonist, but the companion to the protagonist in Fight Club. So the whole thing is Tyler Durden is everything that the unnamed protagonist wishes he could be, and yeah, Mr. Tyler Fight Club was
Tyler. Yeah, it's Brad Pitt. Yeah. So this person on Twitter, this is anonymized. When all of the cancellation bullshit was going on, said, I wasn't following him because I'd seen a lot of reactionary takes. That's true. Good call. I also don't fuck with screen names that try to be cute about media favored by white cis-abled men. I just referenced him last week with a client, so this person's like a therapist, and now don't want to use his book at all. What a shame. So there's a couple things with this. This is another thing that really gets me mad about the AFAB squad.
I forgot to do it in the beginning. So this is pisscourse within a pisscourse, yeah.
Within a pisscourse. Fight Club is a book by a gay man about toxic masculinity and emotional repression and the loneliness of manhood and many other things. There are many very nice, good, relatable things that are useful to see in this book. If you're queer, of any kind, if you're neurodivergent, if you're any of those categories of people, and to throw off the whole book as a book by white cis-abled men is yet again to fail to recognize that if you're an AFAB identified queer person, you should be in community with gay men,
Yeah.
including cis gay men, who, you know, they kind of are oppressed. There's kind of a whole thing that happened that was very bad for them. And that continues to happen. So that's a whole other but related issue that happens a lot in trans spaces that are more AFAB identified centric, whatever. People talk about, ooh, gross gay men. Gay men are so gross. They're so privileged. They're never going to stand up for us. That has not been my experience. Generally, these spaces are a little, like, gay men spaces are a little bit more intentional about trans inclusion and chill about it than like cis lesbian spaces. Certainly they have their problems, but like at the end of the day, we all need to be in community with each other.
Yeah.
All of our struggles are interlinked. And if you're just saying, I'm not going to read a book or make a joke about a book that was written by a cis man, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Once again, you're just detaching yourself from any sense of community or a larger coalition.
I think this is a real fun and interesting one because there's a lot of these different layers of like, because fundamentally it is definitely like, and again, I think that I can't remember anything specific, but I'm not saying Chuck Palahniuk is without. I don't think neither of us are saying Chuck Palahniuk is without flaw, because there's, but generally, Fight Club, both the book and the movie, I think keep the same message that is very anti-toxic masculinity, and you could argue that it is it's kind of like an anti-war movie because it is about toxic masculinity, and so you can say it glorifies it. And really the major criticism of it and why people don't like it, especially for people that aren't familiar with the movie and its connotations, is that people don't see it's a Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty. It's a Joker from Joker. Like, it is very much, Tyler Durden's not the good guy.
Right. And you're supposed to be seduced by him at first and then realize it takes a darker turn.
Right.
But then people take the fact that he's like seductive and appealing and they're like, oh, it's saying it's good.
Right.
You have to watch the whole movie.
Right. And so this is like, there's a huge number of like particularly white cis guys that identify with Tyler Durden because in the same way they identify with the Joker, where they're not understanding that it's a criticism, or if they do understand, they don't care. And then this person is criticizing you for making a joke about that, as if, like, first of all, even if it was as misogynistic as those chuds want it to be, like, and like shitty and right wing as they think it is with their bad reading, like, are we not allowed to like make fun of things like that and like jokingly, like, even if this was like, I don't know, man, there's like so many things, like what's something that's like actually like what cis men think that book is like
yeah, like Dane Cook. Like, if my display name was fucking Blaine Cook, would you say I was glorifying?
Oh, we got to do better than that. Come on, chat, help us out. We can do.
Yes. Someone came up with like a pun on some
Came Cook. Let him cook. Dane, let him cook.
But this is also like the thing that's like the liberal white woman, but not only white women, it's liberals in general. Consumption as morality.
Yes.
There's a two-pronged
Dane Cook.
Dane Cook. Thank you. That's my new display
really
name.
good. That's really good.
Tucker Max is already, Tucker Max, maybe. But like there's a double 1-2 punch here of equating a person's media consumption with their morality.
Yeah.
This person is saying, this person is referencing a bad movie for boys. I don't want to be associated with this person. Ergo, I, a therapist, I'm going to have this book that I was giving to my clients before, presumably because they were finding it helpful. I'm not going to give them that resource anymore because I don't want to taint myself Like
Right.
this person is tainted by touching the bad media. And in this case, the bad media is bad because the guy who wrote it associated himself with some other bad media. What the fuck kind of
Yeah.
like
I literally saw
indirect?
when I was, because when we first started, we're like, we should do a show about this. I like, name searched you, and I literally saw somebody that had posted like, I'm moving into a new place. Here's my bookshelf of all my books, and then they like replied and were like, oh, and don't worry, I already took the Devin Price book out, and it's like, that is what it is, and it's like,
Mm.
and it's the
It yeah,
same thing we've talked about forever of like, like what are you doing like with the BDS stuff, with the boycott, divest, sanction, for Israel. Like, you don't need to get rid of your soda stream. You already bought the
right,
fucking thing. They already got their
right,
money, and they're already using that money to fucking fucking genocide Palestinian people. It doesn't
right.
matter.
It's not about
Don't.
the symbolic purity.
Right.
Like, we can never be pure. That's the thing. They're chasing this purity politics of like, I'm the right
Right.
pure identity. I have the right pure things in my house. My and this happens a lot on like Book Talk, Bookstagram, all of this stuff. Like this fetishization of books as this symbol of who you are, rather than like, I'm gonna learn information or see what I think about somebody else's viewpoint. No, I'm signaling who I am by what's on my shelf. And so I can't have a book where one author ever did anything wrong, which it's like impossible. That's an impossible standard. Then you shouldn't have anything on your bookshelf. But that's not, if that's your standard. But it
Yeah.
should, like, why, even if you think I suck, if the information was useful to you, it was still useful to you. Like, what? You can't purify yourself. We're inextricably connected to the systems that we are in, the economic system, the socio-political system we're in.
Right.
You have to actually sit with that discomfort instead of trying to burn it off of yourself. It's never going to go away.
Which doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't be cognizant of who writes stuff, because I think, like, J.K. Rowling is a great example. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think, I mean, partly it's, if people already have the fucking books and they're still obsessed with it, it's fine. But there's like a bunch of different layers there of like, first of all, you don't want to be giving money to her because because she is like, I think it's unrealistic to boycott every single person who's ever said anything transphobic. But there's a difference when it is somebody who has literally positioned themselves as the leader of the TERF movement. And they
Right.
literally just tweet about this all the time. And then furthermore, it's like, well, if she has this belief, let's actually do like more critically assess Harry Potter. And it's like, oh, actually, it's really bad. Like, it
Yeah.
sucks. Like even if there's so much fucking racist and homophobic and so much shit in there,
Sexist, so
and
much just sexist bullshit. Yeah.
anti-Semitism. Like, there's so much of that shit in there. So it's like, yeah, if somebody, like, I don't think that like, you should definitely, and like, why, like, there are times that I think we should boycott things, and that's important, even if it's not, and also we should be like, well, if this is a bad person, what is this book actually saying? I think about that with, I want to say it was, I always think about, I want to say it was more than two. Every time,
He's like abusive. Yeah.
he was super abusive and to like all of his partners, and it's like, well, when you actually read it knowing that, there's actually a bunch of shit about, which is a book about polyamory, and for the long time was the book everyone recommended when you got into poly, and it's like, well, actually, once you read it, like, it has a bunch of shit that's like very much like the same shit we've been talking about, of like using boundaries as an abusive thing, like, oh, you're not allowed to have boundaries, you're only allowed to, like, a bunch of shit. And so it's like, it is valuable to like take into account the person, the
Right.
author, but this
Yeah.
is the nadir of that, of like the author
Had one tweet I didn't like.
the less than the author referenced a movie that bad people like
Right.
that is the nadir
it's
of it.
Yeah, it's laughable. It's like, you can't live in a world by that standard. Like, it's I don't know. It just seems so apparent to me. Like, you just think through, what are the consequences of the behavior? If giving J.K. Rowling more notoriety and wealth empowers her to continue to support these campaigns, Obviously, you don't want to do that. Pirate her shit if you want to know what's in her new books, because there is value in reviewers going through her new books and saying, oh, wow, there's a trans woman murderer character in these books. This person's ideology is really fucked up, and this is the impact she's having on the world. Devin mentioned Jesse Single. Like, I read his book. I got it from the library. You know, like, there are ways to, if you need to study and critically engage with it, that are not enriching people. And there are situations where you might want to do that, and situations where it's like, no, it's not worth doing, you know. Other books that are like this are like Why Does He Do That by Lundy Bancroft. He's a TERF. He's a very outspoken TERF. And so when you look through that, and it affects his like prison advocacy work. So when you look through that book, you realize that when he's talking about men or the minds of abusers, you can't interpret it the same way as if you didn't already know that he includes trans women in that, you know.
Yeah.
Conflict is not abuse. Once you know that Sarah Schulman has been accused multiple times of stalking students, of trying to force a romantic relationship on students, on harassing people, all of a sudden her talking in her book about how some people just won't sit down and have a conversation with you when they want the relationship to end, and how much that hurts. Suddenly that looks really different.
Who's the classic feminist woman who is a landlord?
Bell Hooks.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And it's again, it's context. It is like, let's nuance. It is, you know, it's the same thing with all of this shit, and why I find talking about this actually really interesting. Because the people are having some realizations. Bell Hooks is a landlord.
Yes, Bell Hooks is a landlord, and she's recommended it at talks that she's given, telling, you know, just saying like, black people, black women, get your money right, invest in property and rent it out. Like, she's advocated for it. So it's not just like a thing that like, oh, you just stumbled into having an extra house one day or something like that.
Right.
It's and I think we do have room to criticize that when we take into account how much landlordism and rental properties particularly negatively affect black people in poverty. Like, that's not a road, even though housing ownership is a very fraught thing for black people because they've been denied it so much systematically by the US. When a black person is doing that to other black people and other people in poverty and advocating for it as a route to like financial freedom, like that's not good. So yeah. That's on that.
Yeah. Did you know that the Foo Fighters were AIDS denialists?
Yes.
That's my favorite like, did you know this person's canceled thing? Because it's nuts. I'm sorry, I just had to ruin all of your
What's the name Foo Fighters, man?
What's his face? He was in Nirvana. He was the drummer for Nirvana.
Yeah. I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden. Foo Fighters, man.
Yeah.
No. Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
Because I want to like him. Because he's just, you know.
I do like him. I think it was very much, you know, they got hoodwinked. It wasn't Dave Grohl that pushed it, and forgive me for not remembering all the details because I read a lot of this a while ago, but it was one of the other members of the band got really involved with this group that was basically like, they were like, it was this very weird kind of like AIDS denialism that happened in like the late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, it still exists, but that's when it got popular.
The people who didn't think HIV caused AIDS.
Right. Exactly. So they're like, HIV exists, but it doesn't cause AIDS, and it's actually unrelated, and all this. I think it was like, yeah, they did like literally like benefit concerts for fucking AIDS denialism group. So that's sorry for ruining. That's my most fucked up. Like, did you know this person you like is actually awful? It's probably not its fault. You know, I'm guessing it is ignorance rather than malice, but you know, Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. I don't know how much he's like still active in it, but I don't think he's ever apologized or anything.
Yes,
but-
yeah, that's my understanding is that they've never recanted it.
yeah.
Oh.
Oh boy. Ooh. Oh, the tangents. We've really gone down. Yeah. Lots of actors. People are sharing who have
Fucking
done
Vin Diesel. Fucking Vin Diesel just got he like literally assaulted someone, and his sister, who was like the production manager or whatever on the set of when it happened, fucking covered it up for him.
Oh,
Just
that
really
sucks.
awful. Just I loved that man.
Yeah. I
Ugh.
want to like him. It sucks how these people are just so insulated with so much power and wealth and like entitlement and just do that shit. It's fucking
Anyway,
sucks.
so we're gonna shout out the your fave is problematic.
Oh my god. You know, she recanted, right? That blog.
Yeah.
How she had a New
Oh.
York Times article that was like, I was just really sad in college, so I decided to make a blog called Your Fave is Problematic, and I wish I never had. Sorry, y'all. Buy my.
Oh. Oh.
I love that we're now in the era too where somebody can be canceled for canceling someone.
Yeah, that's what happened to you. Someone had to do the fucking notes apology for trying to cancel you. It was great.
Yes, and that's trans mask privilege in action, baby. Because you know, like I can play at both sides. If I want to be fully toxic, I can be a white man or I can be a little birthday boy. So
Mhm.
I'm maximally dangerous. But
Yep.
yeah. Gosh, I don't. Where do we go from here? What do we? There's both so much about this initial thing that we could go into, but also so much that we've
I
already
think,
kind of.
I think we've gotten a lot of
Indirectly
discussion. Unless anybody has questions or thoughts of things to bring up, I think that's a pretty thorough discussion of the actual thing and lots of tangents off of it. And
Yeah.
I really like these discussions because I always feel, like I said, I always feel a little gross being like, let's do a drama stream, because it's kind of what it is. But at the same time, I think it's so interesting to like actually add nuance instead of remove nuance from these conversations, and what is actually happening here, and
Yeah.
who should you actually be canceling.
Right. Absolutely. I'm trying to see if I can find the apology.
Oh, I have that.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah, let me.
Just because, like, it is, I don't know if you saw Jane Somerton posted an awful apology video last night and then deleted it
Yeah.
within an hour. It's so rare that we see like a good apology and where somebody expresses, here's what was off and here's how I'm gonna fix it. And so I think it's kind of worth looking at.
Yeah, to Dr. Devin Price and those who am negatively affected, I've sincerely apologize for my actions. I greatly appreciate those who informed me of the important context I was missing. I have much work to do. Character limits are the bane of my existence, so it's full statement below. I recently took a small Twitter hiatus. In that time, I was tagged under a post from Dr. Devin Price by a concerned follower. I read the post several times and admittedly became more confused with each read. For a sign, I grew concerned with the number of trans folks who took grievance with it, and after seeing that several people were upset, I took it upon myself to brazenly speak up with my very limited understanding as a cis person. It's clear to me now that my confusion was due to important context I was missing regarding trans misogyny and TMA communities. Full disclosure, I don't even know what I don't know. That's how much I don't know. It was entirely unnecessary for me to insert myself into a nuanced conversation in a community that I proudly stand with but am not part of. I used severe inflammatory language that was entirely uncalled for. I didn't understand the context behind Dr. Price's post, and even as I'm writing this, I still have much to learn about trans issues, trans misogyny, and the workings of those intersectionalities. I don't take my intersectional activism lightly, and my continued work as an advocate for marginalized communities means that I often make mistakes along the way, whether it's making incomplete assumptions or operating from raw emotion. All I can do in these moments is listen and learn from affected communities, uplift their voices, and learn from my mistakes. I vow to continuously right this wrong by making sure I do my due diligence before diving headfirst into the trenches of an issue. Twitter is not the place for nuance, but we do the best with what we have. Character limits be damned. Nuance and context are important, and I'm fully aware of that my intent to stand up for the trans community as a cis person doesn't outweigh the negative impact of my actions in this instance. Sincerely thank everyone who took the time to inform and educate me. Again, I don't take this lightly, and you have my word that I will continue to put in the important work while uplifting voices of those most affected by the issues. Which, great apology. We joked about the Notes app
Beautiful.
apology, but legitimately extremely good apology. Clearly actually understands what they did wrong.
Yeah, no notes. And just taking ownership for like these things that like we all can get swept up in, raw emotion, wanting to stand up for communities, but then not really being the person who's prepared to do that in that moment, but not even knowing that you don't know enough to do that. Like it's such a human like thing. Like, you know, being like morally righteous is obviously very addictive and compelling feeling. And you know, that's part of what I get swept up in when I'm fighting with people over this dumb shit too, right? Like you're riding a high when you do it. So like, I've been there. I totally
Well,
get
the
it.
difference is you've never been wrong about this stuff, so
Well,
you've
about this particular topic, but plenty of other things I've done
You've
it.
never
I've talked
said
out of
that
my mouth.
lesbians should find Neil
Should find.
Cicierega hot.
I've never said from atop my throne that, like, personally, if I were a lesbian, I would still fuck Neil Cicierega. Guess I'm just built different. And so, yeah.
Never done anything wrong. You're just a little birthday boy.
That's right. Just yeah. And yeah, to somebody in the chat, I think it was Vampires or Creeps kind of asked like, "Oh, do you think you got this fast of a turnaround because of like the size of your platform and all this kind of stuff?" And the answer is like absolutely. There's a lot of reasons why, both me being a white man,
I think
me, you know,
I think there was part of it that is a little bit the what is that law, the internet law? If you post something, if you post a question, no one will answer, but if you post the wrong answer, everyone will correct you. So it was a little bit of that. I think that most of I think probably even if you hadn't said anything about this, I feel like a lot of people probably, even though there were a lot of people that in her following that were, that even in the apology, there are people that are like, you shouldn't have apologized. You were wrong. But I think that there were also a lot of people, even from her own following, that was like, the fuck you doing, dog?
Yeah, probably. I only even saw this. I didn't see this until hours until it popped off because again, I do not get notifications if somebody tweets at me unless I'm already following them. So I only found out about this because my friend Siren Lane, who I do follow, was in the notes explaining all of the context and why, you know, the call out was like wrong. So people were already doing it at that point. And
Yeah.
because we're all just like hungry hogs looking for the slop online, it probably would have just handled itself on its own. But
Yeah.
I was in the recording studio recording the audiobook, and so I was only getting on my phone for like a break, and so I was like, this is my fun time. I'm gonna be a bitch about it.
Yeah.
And so I've noticed like when I'm on vacation or like not on the computer a lot, I actually am I'm more aggressive when I do get online. So
Well, so let's if we don't have any other can we talk about the emotions that come up during a righteous call out? Like I'm sure there's a legit endorphin rush, like you said, hungry hogs looking for the slop. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. Absolutely. And I think, you know, a lot of people, again, if you're into that purity mentality, they need to do some shadow work, you know, like we all have these dark impulses inside of ourselves, you know, and we need to admit them and live with them because yeah, sometimes I've been like, I want to make this person feel bad. Like that's an emotion. There's nothing wrong with having that emotion. But then it's what action you take next that is what matters, you know. So maybe just imagine them suffering and know that they will probably be the cause of their own suffering if they keep acting a fool, you know, like Because yeah, that feeling is addictive.
Yeah, I don't. Transpeaks put some stuff in the Discord about this stuff that I don't know if I will be able to understand all of on stream, but definitely more conversations. And as always, I would love for people to be having more talking more about the conversations we have here in the Discord.
Yes.
Please join us in the Pisscourse.
Yes. Yeah, there's the Discord link and the QR code for the Pisscord. Oh yeah. Yeah, so Transpeaks shared some reading relevant to the trans misogyny that's kind of inherent to a lot of playful misandry, and some things that she had posted on her Instagram related to that. And yeah, that Medium post that she's linked to. Oh my God! Yes, here's the king.
Who should he?
Fuck everything I was just talking about. The king is here.
Who should he be? Who should he be?
Who should he be chopping it up with?
I don't know.
Who would he want to talk to here? Yeah, maybe Xena. He probably would want to talk to Xena.
I mean, yeah, who wouldn't? But I feel like he needs to be talking to somebody that needs to be rebuked.
Oh,
like needs to be fucked with. Maybe
maybe Agnes then.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I'd love to see him and Agnes have a conversation.
Oh my lord.
He could attend what is Agnes's
her
debate
late night
sessions.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love him so much.
He's so good.
I know he doesn't want to be blorboed because he doesn't want to be online, but I want to
good.
I want to blorbo him so bad.
I know.
I'm not as ascended as him.
Oh man.
Oh God. He's so perfect.
All right. Yeah.
Rotating him in our minds. That's right.
Yeah. They don't tell you that you can rotate debate chat in your mind for free.
Yes. Oh my God. We're gonna need that.
Oh my God. All right. Did you have a TikTok?
Yes, I have a TikTok. It's short. I mean, this doesn't have to be a long discussion. It's just something that it's like just me learning about neurotypical people, you know. Neurotypical culture is so beautiful sometimes.
Did you know neurotypical people don't have internality?
Yeah.
They don't. Neurotypical people don't have an internal dialogue. Did you know that?
They're a philosophical zombie.
Okay. Did you want to? Go on.
Is the lore documented for the dollhouse? And there are on the YouTube. You can watch old videos about the dollhouse vampires or creeps, but basically, we just put little guys that we like in there, and we play with them.
Yeah.
It started on my. It's the April. It's like the mid-April stream is the first one because it was our birthday.
Oh my God, do you remember? Oh yeah.
It was like a birthday present to us both.
We should make we should just make people should help me figure out where they all are, because that would be really fun to make like a compilation of all of them or something. But yeah, I want to do like a tournament of all of them and add more chat, because chat has only added one and we still have to add ours. Me and you, Devin, have not each of us just been like our pick for the dollhouse. Like we've added random people, but not people that are like our, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we just took some recommendations.
I've been thinking about it. All right. So did you have it up on
Yeah.
your screen?
Yes, I have it on my screen. Is my sound sharing or no?
I don't know.
Should
Try
I
it.
try it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Oh, this one.
right.
Yes. Oh my God. I literally saw this. We have the same brain sometimes because I saw this and I was like, we should talk about this on stream, but I didn't know how.
Good.
And I shouldn't have questioned it.
Oh, okay. So this is all right. Well, I'll read the tweet first. So the first tweet just posting the video is just like, I'm so sorry this has me weak because I know for a fact I'm this girl. And then the quote retweet is, I want to talk about how soft skills, so kind of social interpersonal skills, are so important and how they are the lubricant for human interactions. So this is just mind blowing to me that this is just a thing a neurotypical person can do. Will it fuck up the cropping? Should I just keep it like this or should I make it full screen?
No, I think make it full screen. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Here we go.
Hi guys! Sorry I'm late. You look gorgeous. How are you?
I'm very stressed out. We have the big presentation today and
Actually, will you pause it?
Caroline
Sorry.
and I have worked on this project.
I'm getting doubled audio, which is probably my fault.
Okay.
I don't know if chat is, but will you send me that link instead?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll put it in Messenger.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Hopefully we. Okay, yeah, it was doubled. So yeah, sorry for the sensory experience, everyone.
Cooper, you're so cute, but you're right in the way.
In the way.
Hi. You look so pretty. Hi guys! Sorry I'm late. You look gorgeous. How are you?
I'm very stressed out. We have the big presentation today and
You look so pretty.
Caroline and I have worked on this project nonstop. I mean, like, it's our baby.
been up all night about it.
Yeah.
Oh shoot.
What's the project about today?
I have no idea. Do you guys think we need to get an extension?
Yeah.
100%.
We can't call Greg. He's so scary.
So Greg is our CEO. I'll call Greg.
What?
Really? Of course.
Are you sure,
Yeah,
Vienna?
yeah. Let's call Greg.
Greg is so terrifying.
Greggy! Hey you! Where are you? How are your kids? I didn't know that! Star's doing school production. Annie.
I love Annie.
Oh.
She's playing Annie.
Oh.
Greg, that's so amazing! Hold on one sec, Greg. Can I ask you something?
Presentation. Yeah.
Greg, you know I've been sitting here talking to you with you all night. But Greg, I have to ask you something. We're gonna need a couple days, Greg. Take a week?
Oh.
Yeah, let's touch base next week. I want to come to Annie. Back to the important stuff. Where are you? I'll come meet you right now.
Oh.
Yeah, let's freaking eat a brioche and talk Annie, my guy. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Guys. Greg, I'm coming to you.
Oh.
Oh.
See, I don't think this is necessarily a neurotypical thing because I think I'm totally this bitch. 100%. And she is not necessarily ADHD, but come on. I feel like this
She
is
seems
such
ADHD.
right. She's like, what are we asking about? She's fucking late. And she I think this is totally an ADHD thing. Like not only but yeah. This is absolutely me. And that's like I don't know. I could just do it. Like I'm always the like I can call people, no problem. Like even if it's not somebody I know, I'm the person that'll like call. I'm the person I'm trying to. I have so many stories of this because this is like, and I really think it's the people that are like, well, I'm an empath. Like this is kind of what they're talking about. Like that's like a toxic thing, but like legitimately, like I'm trying to think of like. I remember there's a story from when me and my spouse got. This is not so much. I don't know. This is a little bit different, but like, on me and my spouse's first date, they accidentally gave us the wrong fucking receipt, and I remember like so we got 2 drinks. And my spouse was going to pay for it. And we got the receipt back and it was like, you know, a whole ass table of meals, like hundreds of dollars. And my spouse was just, my spouse was like, oh my God, what? And I was like, don't worry about it. Like, I'll just go ask. And like obviously that was not a thing that needed to have that social lubrication, but it didn't like bother me. Like I could just do it easily. And it's I very much I don't know. I'm interested to see. It sounds like there are other people in the chat that do this too, because I don't. Yeah, Casey goes queerly ADHD charisma.
Yeah, because it's like the emotional, like it works because her excitement is so genuine. Like she
Yes.
doesn't come across as kissing the boss's ass. Like she has a rapport with him already. She's like actually really excited to hear about the play. So like it's not this manipulative fake ass kissing thing that if somebody
Yeah.
else tried to do it, it would not work and they wouldn't like doing it. It's like she's just like experiencing the moment, and like just the way she like raises morale as soon as she comes into the room. Like
checking in with everybody. She's like interrupting herself. Like, you know, she's like, "Oh, how are you?" And like, "Oh, hi." Like,
right. Yeah. But like nobody's mad that she's like late and doesn't know what the project is. Like,
right.
Like, because they recognize that she is bringing so much like important skills. Like she's raising morale. She's so positive. She's good at like the social lubrication stuff. Like she just, bought them all this time. Like it's like,
you know who she is? She's fucking Columbo. Columbo. Okay, I don't talk a lot about ADHD on here because I don't know what to say a lot, but I feel like she's doing the same fucking shit where she's just Columbo comes in and he's just genuinely interested in people, and he just is asking questions, like fucking like he's not asking to get to the bottom of shit. He's just genuinely interested in people and talking to them, and they do what he wants, which is like, I don't know, for in Columbo's case, like
they reveal information because they're so like warmed up. Yeah.
Right. And she's doing the same thing where it's like, well, on the surface you might think it's manipulative, but that's the thing. It has to be genuine to be able to really do this.
Yeah. It's and it goes back to like how we met too. Also, it was just like because you are like very like outgoing and bubbly and approachable and like warm, that like normally people don't really talk to each other at a concert, and even if they do, it's just like, oh, that's a nice little side conversation, and that's it, and you just leave the night being like, oh, that was a nice interaction. But it's like, because you're so good at like actually like bringing people in and like talking to them and listening to them and stuff, like it could actually become, first of all, you katamari'd like several other people at
I don't think I did that one so much, but especially at the next concert when we had like a couple one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, I collected more people just while waiting in line. It's just like this like magnetic, quality. And it's not just like, people think charm is all about yourself, but it's not. It's about it's about taking an interest in other people and noticing things and being like curious and warm and inviting and all of those things. And that's like,
yeah,
you can't fake that. It's just like a it quality some people have.
I think that there's definitely downsides to being this person too. I mean, I have a hard time at parties sometimes because I feel like I feel fucking responsible if people, I like if I go into a party and I'm this person, I'm very much like especially if it's a party I'm hosting, but like, even if it's not, like, it's just, I feel like I have to like make sure everything is okay, and I have a lot of like, I mean, we've talked about how I have like we've mentioned before, how I have like, post social anxiety. Like, I don't have anxiety during the thing usually, but like I'll come out of it and I'll be like, did I do everything? And I feel a lot of responsibility to do this. Yeah, and it's I don't know, it's interesting. And I know Jet said, I used to be able to do this, now I'm cranky, lol. And I think for me it's frustrating because I feel like I lost some of this ability with COVID, because I was so isolated for so long. But yeah, I think it's definitely a thing that a lot of people, and it's also like, it's a very, you give a lot of yourself to do this. Like
Yeah.
you and you and I think it's really important for people who are like this to protect their fucking energy, because basically what you're doing is like you're being interested in other people, and you're kind of like taking on a lot for them. And then I feel like I'm a person that has like is really good in this situation, and then has a really hard time maintaining actually deeper friendships, because I just, I'm really good at that first impression and everybody, but I have a really hard time fucking opening up, because it's got to be about other people.
Mm.
I have to be there for everybody else, rather than like, and put other people first. And for me, it was, there's a lot of reasons I'm like this. I think ADHD totally is a thing, and there's like an aspect to, there's some kind of like overlap there of this being easier for, maybe this is an ADHD thing.
Like a compensation too,
Yes.
kind of.
Yes. And I
Yeah.
know for me, it was a compensation for other things. Like I think of myself as being very similar to like a military brat and having some of those stuff. Because I moved, my parents weren't, neither of my parents were in the military, but we moved around a lot when I was younger. Like, I don't think there was a single before high school. There wasn't a single school that I stayed at for more than two years. And that was a big part of this. Was I was always meeting new people, and so I like really knew how to do this kind of social lubrication stuff, but didn't know how to make actual friendships. But then also it goes back to like some of my like my childhood home being really disordered, which is the thing I've talked about. Like, my eldest brother being extremely disabled, and my parents not getting the support that they needed for that, and there being like some amount of like emotional neglect that happened because I didn't, like they didn't have the resources to take care of their 3 kids, all 3 of which had a lot that they needed, and especially, their oldest had so much that, they didn't have the support to take care, to give all of us our, and we, me and the middle brother Zach, like really responded to that in different ways. For him, it was like, well, I'm gonna get the attention I want by like acting out, and for me, it was like, well, I'm going. Forgive me for getting this deep, but I think probably there's a lot of people in the chat that I think might experience like, if you do this is what it is for me. And it's because like my mom literally would be like, yeah, you were the ambassador. Like we would have people come over for Ben's care, because it was, the whole time I lived with Ben, it was there was like an aspect to it that was like a business where it's like people were working there. And so, and people would come in to like work with Ben, and I would be the ambassador, and I would make sure everything. So even even when I was a very small child, I was like, 5 or 6 or 7. And I'm in this like this like home where I'm not getting what I need, but because I'm like, adults are coming in, and I'm the one that is like, making everything okay, like even as a kid.
Right.
And
put everybody else's needs first and anticipate everything.
Right. Right. And so it's very much, that's why I'm good at it, but it's very much like for the people that see yourself in this, like you have to like, it's an incredible skill, but it's also something you have to protect your energy about.
Yeah, I mean that sure sounds like it's like so much of like a fawning response to trauma.
Yeah.
And masking, especially like compensatory masking. Like I've definitely seen that in a lot of ADHDers who, there's a lot of things going on in it, like
right.
you were just describing. But from the ADHDer side, it's like, well, if I make myself indispensable for people,
right,
in these ways, then they're not going to yell at me for the things that they expect me to do that I can't do, or can't do in the way that they do them. So that's just like inherently you're in this really tentative place all the time. Like, if that's what these things are.
And you can see that in this video. I mean, she's late. You know,
Mhm.
she's like I mean, you know, again, I'm headcanoning this character because obviously
No, it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
you know, this is a scripted thing. This is like a bit. Um,
Right.
Describing you know, things that actually happening, but I absolutely headcanon this person as ADHD. You know, they're late, they don't know what the project is, and then they're on the phone with the guy and they're like, wait, what am I asking? They don't even remember, but they're compensating with that by having this social lubricant, this fucking superpower of like, oh yeah, I'll just talk to the scary boss guy and we'll talk about his daughter and going to Annie, and it's very feminized too, right? That's totally
Mhm. They're
like
taking. Yeah.
Yep. So it's interesting. Yeah, Cassie Goes Queer. It's definitely an aspect of parentification for sure. But my
Yeah.
parents are separated, using me to artistic bum. I can relate having divorced parents and them using me to communicate with each other. My mom's fault for mostly refusing to talk to my dad. Yeah, I had the same thing. My parents have been separated since I was really young, and so I mean, I literally have memories of like having in high school having conversations with my mom of like her having a safe word if their argument gets too much for me to like try to like intervene.
Oh,
Like,
it's so fucked up to have
yeah,
to carry that
and that's
emotional maturity.
yeah, and I don't know, I didn't know we were going to talk about this TikTok, obviously, but yeah, I think that I think a lot of people are see themselves in this video, and you know, whatever, you know, obviously I have a lot of different co-mingling childhood stuff that happens, but I think ADHD is, you know, a big part of the way that I responded to that stuff. And I think, yeah, vampires are creeps and Maddie. It's totally a military brat thing. Moving and being a chameleon is why I mask. Yeah. I met somebody
Mhm.
randomly that was a military brat, and we like talked about this, and I was like, oh yeah, that's my same experience.
Yeah. It's so interesting because of course, like I see this video and I'm like, wow, people can do that. Oh, and like there's this mistake of on my part watching it of like, oh, it seems like it's so easy for this person, but that's the
Mm,
whole like facade, like this idea of like, and it goes back to how neurotypicality like also just doesn't actually exist. Nobody's actually that, but like
yeah.
this assumption of like, oh, this person is making it. They don't look terrified. They don't look like they're afraid to call the boss. They don't look like they're embarrassed that they don't remember the thing. But like that, of course they don't. Like that's the survival
Yeah.
technique. Is
I mean, for me, it is easy. And like it's not, and I think that there's a lot, like I was saying, like protecting your energy and stuff like that, because it's easy to do it too much, and it is easy to
yeah,
always be the person that is,
reflexive.
yeah, that is being leaned on for help and all this stuff. um
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. Oh, and thank you so much, Vampires Are Creeps, for
Oh
subscribing
yeah, for the
also.
sub. Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you so
so
much,
much.
everyone, for being so supportive of the show today. Yeah, it's like, you know, the way that I mask is so different and is not that high energy, but like there is this degree where like you have this tool in your quiver, right? Where it's like, oh, I know how to make someone like me. I
Yeah.
know what I could do that's gonna make them feel better. Like I can in mine, it's a much more like cold version where it's like I've diagrammed out the sentence of like here's what to say. But like it's the same thing where I think if I'm understanding, like it is like you could just go and do that because you know it's gonna work, and
Mhm.
anything that is more creating any more friction, you're more likely to lose the interaction, like, you
Yeah, I
know,
mean,
where
it's
the
very
person's
much like the whole thing is being interested in other people. Like, and
yeah.
I genuinely really am. And I think that me being the way that I am because of all this stuff is like so valuable, and I'm thankful for it, because I just genuinely am super interested in people. Like, a great example is fucking dreams. People are like, I think that's like such a stereotypical thing to be like, why are you going to tell me your dream? Like, that
Mhm.
is the most boring thing anyone could ever talk about to anybody else. And uh, and but that's, I mean, partly I'm like really interested in dreams, but it's also like that's so not true to me. Like I'm interested in other people, and dreams like speak so much to people's subconscious, way more than people know sometimes. And so it's like, it's genuinely, I really like being that person. But at the same time, if I'm only that person and I've been that person, like what do we know about this person's internality? Nothing. She has said nothing about herself. No one has asked her how she is. And if they have, she's brushed it off. Like,
right. Or even why she's late. Like what's going on in her life? What's hard for her? You know?
Exactly.
Like,
and so it's like, I don't not want to be this person. I love being this person. But I just need to be aware of like, actually I can ask for help too. Like I can get some of this sometimes. Sometimes, I deserve to have somebody like, so, and that's it. Yeah. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
It can be exhausting if people don't respect what you're doing and understand the labor you're putting in, and also ask you how you're doing and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah, because it can kind of attract people who are going to take advantage of it, intentionally or not. Usually not, but like,
right.
Yeah. And people to take it for granted is not like this effortful skill.
Yeah. Was a lot of good chat when I was talking, so I'm trying to get to some of it.
Yeah, first of all, a lot of people are really thankful to just like learn. They do want to listen to you and hear more about you and your opinions in your life and stuff. So that first of all,
I don't
there's a
know.
lot.
I don't know why they would want that,
that,
but Devin Price, yes, Maddie, it's exhausting. I get frustrated with one of my partners for doing this thing where he will see I'm really engaging someone in a convo in a group setting, and he will just completely check out. So he gets to rest and not socialize, and then I'm left doing all the work of engaging that person and being social. Totally. And then Transpeaks responded, I struggle with that sort of thing, but I'm also practicing just being honest with people. Hey, I'm feeling a little drained. Can we have some quiet time, go for a walk, do an activity, etc.? Yeah, I love that too.
Yeah, or just don't carry the interaction, like, depending on the situation, right? Like, it's hard, but, like, sometimes just let the conversation suck, But, like, it really sucks when it's also such, I've seen so many, like, again, I'm gonna be bad and do a gender essentialism, but, like, that's such, like, the boyfriend who's on his phone and doesn't even say hello to you behavior, that, like,
Didn't
dynamic?
we talk about that? No, yes. We talked about a different thing that reminded you, what was it called?
Fubbing?
Fubbing, yeah. Is that what it was? Phone
snubbing?
Yeah, where you're just on the phone. Yeah.
Yeah. Fubbing is when it's like just you and your partner, but it could be anyone. Like that could be kind of like you're checking out of the conversation and it's like rude, Just.
But it's funny because I also do that because it's like a way to protect, for it's like it's hard for me to do one or the other, like, so it's like either I can feel like I have to lubricate every single interaction that's happening, or I can fucking back out into my phone and not participate as little as possible. So it's like
I definitely do both too, where like sometimes I'll just be doing a lot of the like trying to remember things from the person's life to ask them about, and trying to remember how two people might. Here's where it gets annoying. It's like if I'm trying to keep everybody engaged, I'm doing the spinning the plates where I'm like, oh, I know you two have this thing in common, so I'm going to bring it up. But then one of those people just doesn't even participate in the conversation. It's like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't have been trying to micromanage this shit in the first place, actually.
I do think it's interesting because it's like, I think that it is this kind of thing is also a masking thing for autistic people, because it is very different. I see that with my spouse, because my spouse is autistic, but also really good at doing this, like, kind of thing, and it is a masking thing, and it's very different because I think it's like you were saying, it seems to come from a different place of understanding, of more of a like generally kind of a more like, well, I understand these are the ways things happen, where for me it's very just it you know, I can just kind of do it.
Mhm. Yeah, I
But
have to plan it out.
yeah, exactly. Whereas I do the opposite of planning. If I think about it at all, I'm gonna fucking fuck up. Like I have to just like mind goes blank, and I am just in the drift of the socialization stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
so I definitely
intuitive.
don't think it's like again, it's not an autistic versus uh, ADHD thing. Like you said before, there's a lot of overlaps, but it's like a little bit different flavor in the way that it actually works.
Yeah. Cassie Go Curly says, I often just say, well, that's all I've got to indicate that I'm letting them lead a while. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Uh, yeah, things being quiet for and awkward for a moment is not the worst thing in the world. Though again, that's not to devalue all of this labor also. Like it
Right.
is
And I think someone like me can feel like it is. Like I mean, I very much have all this trauma of like, it's hard not to feel like everybody hates me. So it's like, oh well, if they are not having the best time, it's my fault. Like
right. Right. Yeah, like the party example, like, oh my God, like I get that pressure. And I was not as good as it as you are, but like I used to worry about that if I was like putting some function together. How do I keep people entertained? And like,
yeah.
but like it's actually not your like responsibility,
Yeah.
to do all of that. And most people can take care of themselves or find the help that they need, like they'll bring a friend with them to the party or whatever, they'll go pet a cat for a second. That's fine.
Yeah, Devin, like, oh, he's a dude, so he's not going to be emotionally vulnerable and sportive in the convo. Let him zone out. Yeah. Like,
Mhm.
he
Yeah.
can. Yeah. Hell Arctic. I've gotten better about saying I don't know what else to say, but I'm listening. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. I just hit people with I just look at them and I don't do anything. And people hate it. But I still do it.
Oh, Transpeaks. One time I pulled out my phone out in a conversation with someone and they said, "Oh, do you need a break?" And I was like, "Oh my God, thank you for noticing that and not taking it personally." Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's
Yeah.
perfect. That's really nice. Uh,
Um. But yeah. Uh. Thank you for appreciating the Maddie lore, as people were saying earlier.
yeah, a lot of people related to it, and like it helps me understand the dynamic of what we just, or some
Well,
of the things that we see that kind of stuff in
actually,
media.
people that don't have autism don't have internality, so that's actually what's happening.
Right. Yeah, we don't have emotional internality, so we don't understand how like other people have feelings when they're interacting. But I mean, it's true
But
and it's
but yeah, thank you for sharing this. I absolutely saw this and thought we should share it. So same hat. I'm really glad we talked
yes,
about that.
yeah. Maddie needs to write Unmasking ADHD.
Yeah, when I understand it well enough myself, when I've got it figured out for me. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So would any NTs like to borrow my relentless internal monologue? I don't need it.
Would any philosophical zombies want to have autism or ADHD? Um,
Okay,
yeah.
so yeah, we have a little bit more time. Let's talk about the
Clear
final
penis.
yeah. This is like, and this is kind of going back to, all pisscourse. This is pisscourse. And yeah. Let's talk about a very dumb one. Um So, Jesus Christ. Look how many fucking tabs I have open for this one.
Oh boy. And then this one is fresh for me too. I know Clear Penis as a poster, as a DJ, etc. But I don't know.
Oh, does she DJ? I didn't realize. Oh,
She's definitely in the DJ Twitter circles
yes.
as well
Yeah.
as trans circles.
Do I have? Okay. All right. Have you seen this video? Does this look familiar?
No. I've seen references to it, but I've never watched
So
it.
we're gonna watch some cringe. How long is it? It's only 35 seconds. Yeah, we're gonna watch some cringe.
Sad that there's no muscly girls in here. Well, I mean, yeah, but, sure, I like to joke around and talk about how, I'm strong women all the time, but that's not the only girls I like. I like big girls, pretty kitty girls, really witty girls, singing ditty girls. I like the licky girls with the nice thighs. I like a good chest, no matter what size. I like the belly folds, I like the six packs, really tall queens, and the short stacks. From the mild girls to the wild girls. You got style girls, make them proud girls. Yeah, I just really like girls.
Okay, so that's a riff on the Lizzo song.
Yes. So I'm curious. Not to put you on the spot, but I am curious. I'm curious what people in the chat's reaction and your reaction.
Well, first of all, these were all video game women.
Yeah.
So before we say anything about any kind of body positivity or anything, those were video game women.
Yeah.
So that seems like a layer that's important.
And to be fair, I think some of the context that got lost from the people, because basically what happened is everyone was like calling this really cringe. This was a blorbo that people on Twitter were like, look at how cringe this is. And I mean, it is. Some context is that this was he's a Twitch streamer, and that was like maybe they re-recorded, but you could at the beginning he's literally just playing a game, and somebody was like, and he was talking about how he loves strong women, and then he's like, well, actually I love all, like, not just strong women, I love and then it got turned into, they animated it and like put music behind it, and so like this is like an animated, like Game Grumps animated of this moment from stream. So this is right, like, so, and I think that was some context that got lost when people were calling it really cringe, because it's like it's very different, like making this, like this was clearly aimed in community, like this is like a moment that happened live, so yeah.
It's just a riff and a joke. I feel like it's fine. I feel like, man is attracted to lots of kinds of women, not the most groundbreaking thing, but also not negative.
Yeah.
The bar is pretty low, so expressing desire widely and not being ashamed of that desire is cool. That's fine.
Yeah, I think fundamentally it's about like, because people have posted this a lot. Like initially in May, this got fucking posted, and it was just like, all of my Twitter for a day or two was talking about how cringe this was. Yeah, and cringe but harmless, and so apparently he got a lot of hate because when people fucking, like talk about stuff, post cringe, like people's response to it is always so like overwhelming.
It must be evil because it's cringe, right?
Right. And there were even accusations, and apparently some further context for why this video got it so bad originally was he defended, he basically was like, he was basically on the side of, I think I couldn't understand all of the context, but he was on the side of people shouldn't be playing the Hogwarts game because there was that whole fucking discourse about people were getting harassed for playing the Hogwarts game, and he was like, it's not okay to harass people for that, but trans people are the ones experiencing real material harm, not streamers. And so yeah, he was on the right side of that, and so it sounds like some of the backlash that happened months after that was related to people being shitty about that. And, and obviously, like, I mean, the big criticism of it was he's being gay for girls, as if that's like a criticism. Like,
right. Yeah.
So,
yeah. Like, if he's, because the sentiments he's expressing are like kind of like, you see that on like lesbian Tumblr all the time or whatever. And it's like, I don't know, like, people just like but it's also harmless for straight dude or like whatever to just be like, oh yeah, but because of the like adversarial nature of like how people talk about dating in the straight world and like attitudes towards men and women, it's like weird to even just like experience desire and like people.
Yeah, and it's
a layer to it. Like,
yeah, and I definitely think it's one of those things where it's like, I think that there were a lot of leftist people not criticizing it, but thinking it was cringe, because it's that same like thing we were talking earlier, where there's different levels of like normalization, because like from like a broader societal point of view, this is like a positive thing, right? Like a man singing about how he likes all types of women,
right,
and that's good. But then there's like the in like community, what this means, like in leftist feminist community, like it's like, well, yes, from a broader perspective it's good, but you're also still like objectifying women and reducing them to their bodies, and so actually, like, there's still criticism. Like, I think most people were not actually criticizing it in those ways. I think there was some, that's the thing, is when it's discourse, it's just everything. But I think it was mostly just people thought it was cringe. They thought it was right. So the thing that happened, and the reason I want to talk about this, and again, because this is less about the actual discourse and more about just the way social media is fucking nuts, is so basically Claire Penis, let's see if I have the specific tweet, because I think it is still up. Yes, so it is still up. So Claire Penis zero Sucamus posted, I just made this video, let me know what you think. And this was right after the H Bomber guy stuff, so I think it was definitely partly joking about that. And it wasn't even uploaded. This link, it actually was on Twitter. You can like repost something, and it won't be like a quote tweet. It'll be like a at the bottom. It'll say like via this person, and then when you click that, it'll go to the original person that uploaded the media.
Got it. Okay.
So that is not a super well known thing. I think it might be new. I didn't realize this was a thing until I think this reading, like trying to understand this drama. But yeah, so it wasn't like, and that tweet was somebody making fun of it from, I think may have been one of the original inciting things for fucking May, because this has gotten a bunch of, people hating on it for being cringe.
Right.
And there was a community note. This video was created by Jocat and posted to their channel on 3rd of April, blah, blah, blah. And if you go through this, it was literally everyone being like, how could you steal this video?
Oh,
Stop claiming other people's works. Somebody said clear lawsuit.
Oh my God.
It's so strange that
what the fuck?
Yeah, it was literally like, it's less so now. But I swear to God, when I first looked at it, it was literally like I was scrolling, and a lot of it was because it was fucking check marks, because they always have the worst fucking take. Well, there's like so much like, I can't believe you're stealing from Jocat. It's like, what?
Oh my God.
How do you not understand that this is a joke? And then fucking Jocat retweeted it, quote tweeted it, and was like, I don't think I could find that specific quote tweet.
But he like thought it
was
that
she was fucking actually stealing it and didn't understand that it was a joke. And it was just fucking very strange that I was just like, this is clearly a joke. Why are you so mad? And so it was like, I think, I mean, she was calling it cringe. I mean, that's the joke. And because so many people were like, okay, well, if you didn't mean it to steal it, if you weren't trying to actually act like you made it, what was the joke? And it's like,
people make this kind of joke all the time. I've seen people make a version of this joke like, hey, do you like this comic I just drew? And it's like Lost or something.
Right.
know?
And
like,
a lot of times it is
so
something where
funny.
the joke is it's really bad and you would
Right.
and it's and that you would take credit for it. You'd be dumb enough to be like, wow, this is good enough for me to steal.
Yeah.
And I mean, even the tweet, she replied to herself. I played this for Amber, and she genuinely, I don't, probably a partner or something, and she genuinely almost killed me. Like, I saw the light go out of her eyes, and she lunged at me. Like, it's clearly making fun of it for being cringe, which is whatever. And then it blew up because it was insane how many people were like, didn't get it as a joke and were actually mad at her for stealing shit. And then he quote retweeted and was like, I don't have that specific tweet, but he quote retweeted and was like, it's really mean. I made this and it's really mean of you to try to steal it. And so even more people went and tried to dogpile her. And like, there was a tweet that was like 48 hours later and it's still going on. Like, this was just people dogpiling this woman for acting like,
oh my God.
And
I did
go on. Yeah, go on.
I did see a shockwave where I didn't know what it was in reference to.
Right.
Several people that are just like, my mutuals that are always in all of this discourse about like, people don't realize that like trans women can have a sense of humor or like not, or be like smart and make a joke like that. And I was like, I wonder what that's commenting on, but also it could be a million things. So
yeah,
I'm sure I'll find out eventually. But yeah, I think it was in reference to this.
No. Yeah, exactly. And to his credit, Jocat responded to that tweet. She tweeted, "How is this going still 48 hours later?" And he apologized. He probably apologized. I think he deleted the tweet where he was like quoting, and he's like, "Hey, I'm so sorry anyone was being nasty because of me. The joke went over my head because I was too dumb and was hasty to reply. I was too caught up in people being upset at my video that I was on the defensive, and you don't deserve the harassment. I'm genuinely sorry." And so it like,
that's good.
And it just quickly became this thing where it was like both of their groups of people seemed to be like weaponized against each other when neither of the people wanted that. So, and it got to the point where, yep. And then she posted first death threat just rolled in like later that day. And yeah, people went hard because they were defending this person. Let's see. Yeah. And I pulled this one up because this is the kind of, joke that she made, because I wanted to demonstrate why, like, if you knew her at all, why this was so obvious. Like, this is
it's very dry.
One of my animation fans who was mad at me sent me this weird cylinder, pretty cool, and this is a video that's gone around a lot of like a radiated cylinder, which is not real, just because this is a very scary if it were real thing. It's like a container that you keep fucking uranium in or something.
Right. So yeah, this is a similar joke format. Like, are people going to accuse her of plagiarizing a TikTok by remixing things? That's like how the internet works. This is such like bad faith. It's unreal. So,
okay, I have so many tabs open. Okay. Where's the fucking... Okay. So what, like 4 days later, Jocat posts, if this is what it takes to be a content creator online, I don't think I'm cut out for it. TLDR, I'm going to finish up my current ongoing projects, and then I'm going to be taking an indefinite break from making content. So
I saw this and I didn't know who that was.
Yeah. So we don't need to go into all of this, but he kind of explained some of the context that I gave. And a lot of the context I gave is from reading this. Yeah, and he's basically like, I just did it for my fans and my friends, and it left its target audience. And ever since then, I have seen and received many assumptions about my character, my history, my beliefs, my relationships, and all those of my partner, as well as threats of violence to me, as well as my family, doxing attempts, and mocking from even people I look up to and respect, all from a single 30-second video out of 200 other ones. Granted, I could log off. but no small amount has leaked into other parts of my regular day-to-day. Private DMs over Discord and Twitter. Suspicious packages sent to my family, which was a big thing. So yeah, he's basically like, I can't deal with this.
Wow. And so then I'm sure people went for Claire again, saying you made this man quit the internet.
Right. Which again, this is not cool that this happened to this guy. And mostly
No.
it was but again, it was like, it seems really rash because literally everyone was like, Hess, her name's Hess. Hess's fucking followers sent suspicious packages to this guy, sent anthrax to this guy's house based on the assumptions of what it says. And then it wasn't till like the next day that he posted and clarified, I did not imply Hess is responsible for doxing or package. This has been happening long before the current discourse. I did not want to send harassment her way by naming her. If you do, you're worse than the haters. I don't condone it. Please stop. And then again, had to do more follow up of the timeline of events are upload, year of silence, random Twitter users start a hate mod, months of silence, another hate mod, doxing attempt, suspicious package, months go past, Hess tweet that I mistook for more hate mods. So it's like,
oh,
so.
God.
And the whole reason, like, the thing is, like, the actual discourse of this is not really that important. I think there's maybe some interesting things to say about, like, I don't know, maybe like the casual misandry, and maybe I mean it's very much uwu-ifying men, and there's a lot of different parts we could really tear apart of like what's actually happening here, but I don't even think it's important. It just sucks all around, and it's just this very weird thing where like this kind of mild and again. This hate mob has been going on for a long time, and yet it was a trans woman that got fucking dogpiled for it. And I don't think it was really Jocat's fault. I think that they were clearly in a very defensive posture because they've gotten all this hate before, and so they just fucking kind of took it out on somebody that really didn't deserve it. And on the same time, like, I mean, do we really need to be like do we really need to make fun of people for being cringe like this when it's not hurting anybody?
Right.
And but at the same time, is it fair that like, you can't call something cringe without people like fucking saying that they're a pedophile? Like
Right. It's so amplified to such an insane degree, so intensely. Like even the joke that Hess made, like playing with it, like it's really not like, yeah, is it kind of the underlying thing is like, oh, it's a little cringe. That's not even that mean-spirited of a joke. Like people can make that joke even in kind of an affectionate way of like, again, like Loss or something like that, where it's like, oh, this thing is like silly, but obviously that's not calling it like terrible art that's done anything like wrong. It's just like, oh, this, it's become a meme. There's like an affectionate quality to that, or there can be. It's unreal that these things get so ridiculously amplified.
And this is just
context.
It's just so the platonic ideal of a stupid thing that happened, and nobody and again, he was like, I'm gonna disconnect, and then fucking Claire Penis fucking deactivated for a while because she was getting tons of fucking like death threats and hate shit too, over something that was basically a stupid misunderstanding.
Right.
So she also had an apology. Let's see if I can find that. Which yeah, I don't see it. Which she basically was like, I'm sorry I did this. It was sort of like, but you were the one that made it bigger. And like the reason, I mean, she kind of she called out like, you were the reason that this blew up. Like your fans getting all
Right.
mad that I So yeah, I can't find it. But so yeah, I mean, you can argue that and so it's still going on because people are like, well, this is a shitty apology, which I think it was the apology that it should be. Like, so,
Yeah. Like you made a joke and then people started attacking you. And that's not. Oh, water drinker. Thank you. It's all just so disproportionate. And like even I understand from Jocat's whole perspective, like why after repeated harassment you'd be like, okay, I don't want to do this stuff anymore. But like even like he said in his own tweet, like at some point, like when you're a public facing person, like you have to, for your own sake, you have to figure out how you're going to log off and how often.
mhm.
I don't want to overstate it because I don't think it's like him like playing the victim or something like that, but it's just like his vulnerability in that moment for understandable reasons, then Hess has to like is held as responsible for, as if she had like victimized him, which is not what happened.
Yeah.
It's there's just so many like really badly ingrained behavior patterns that we get into on Twitter. Like, lots of people in the chat are talking about like users on Twitter just need to like get a hobby, and people are, like, and people who are conscientious leave the platform. So only the people that are there for hot take warfare remain, and like all that kind of stuff. Of course, it's conditioned by advertisers. It's become the social norm that people get conditioned into. And it's also true for like the content creators themselves. Like at some point, like we have to just not, we have to like let people be wrong about us and
Mhm.
disengage, because you cannot take that much in. It makes you crazy, and sometimes it makes you do crazy shit. Not, I don't think in this case, I think both people behaved very reasonably, you know. But it's like,
But it's the way
it's,
that people go to war for people is like, I don't know.
yeah,
And I want to be clear, but I don't think we're really, uh, I didn't, I think, especially on this show, but like sometimes I think you on Twitter are big enough that you could start doing this like that. But I mean, even the people that were going after Potatoes, thankfully, they all seemed really respectful, and they were just like, this is wrong and you're fucking up. But
yeah, which thank God, because that could have just as easily happened here, because I
yeah,
was being very snarky. I was being like, especially once I realized, oh, hey, people aren't going to interpret me in the right way. And this is something that I think, again, it comes down on trans women online so much worse. You get bombarded and people don't listen to you and they don't care to know the truth. And so at a certain point, you're like, well, I don't even care then. I'm just going to say whatever I want. Um, but then, and people don't understand where you're coming from when you have a little bit of an attitude in how you post, and so then they demonize you even more, right?
yeah,
But that didn't really happen in my case, again, because of those like privileges where I could be really like snarky and shit. And thank God nobody took it and ran with it to like harass Potato in some kind of like,
mhm.
aggressive way. They were really just like, this is not good, but
Yeah, yeah. I don't really know. The thing that I thought of was this. This is all that I had in my head.
what did we learn?
What did we learn, Palmer?
I don't know, sir.
I don't fucking know either.
Literally.
I guess we learned not to do it again.
Yes, sir.
I'm fucked if I know what we did.
Yes, sir. It's hard to say.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I mean, yeah. I mean, with mine, I really do feel like there have been times when I'm like, I shouldn't have gotten into shit. But in this one, I was like, I said what I said. A couple people learned what trans misogyny was. Somebody who ran their mouth learned a little bit about not doing that. Like, again, this is the moral righteousness brain. I realize I'm being a little bit of a supervillain in my own mind about it. But it does feel like, oh, I didn't actually do anything wrong. The first sin was just to tweet at all or to read
Mhm.
tweets, which like normally I don't again, like normally I don't even look at what people say about me, and I did, and then I became the Joker. You know.
So yeah, I
I'm done.
legitimately, it's like I don't even know what to talk about with this because I just thought it was so interesting for how, like, especially since we were going to do this whole discourse stream, where it's just interesting that it's just like this is discourse, fucking piss course, like distilled. Like this is the garbage. This is the bad shit.
Yeah, it's pure piss.
And this is what we need to like I don't know. I think it is because like I think what you tweeted is really valuable, and I really do think Potatoes got I think really learned a lot. I think that there are a lot of people there were a lot of people who were just like fuck Devin because he's a transmedicalist or whatever, but like I do think a lot of people really did go like, oh, I actually understand that now. And I think talking about it here, like there's a lot of discussion we got out of it. So I don't, I think it's like, how could this be better? How could we not do this? How could we have like discussions and not have it do this? And I think a big thing is, Twitter is actively really bad about it because of the way the fucking algorithms are written, but how can we act better in order for this, I don't know.
Yeah, like in some ways, like because conflict is fine, not to be Sarah Schulman about it, right? But like,
right.
In some ways, if somebody like, and in this case, things didn't go badly, right? Like somebody said something a little out of line and was way too heightened with it. I guess like if I wanted to be fucking Anna Mardall about it, I could act victimized, but I really don't feel like I was. I don't think I really lost any readers because I think the people who get swept up in that shit don't actually buy and read books. Like I'm like I have enough like so that's fine, whatever. Some people got mad online and were annoying. I was not hurt by that, right? Thank God me being a little bitchy and snarky about it online didn't also lead to anybody doing anything vile to Potatum. I'm sure she still felt bad and embarrassed, but it seems like she also was able to kind of put that in the proper context and not self-victimize about it and be fine. But at the same time, when I look at like the Claire Penis and Jocat thing, like nobody really behaved.
Tempe Ranchero said, I think her username is a joke about French filmmaker Claire Denis. So it would be pronounced Dennis, spelled Dennis. So it'd be pronounced Claire Penny, which is very funny.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
for that correction. Claire Penny, but it's like so why did nobody do anything truly vile in this case? But in the Claire Penny Jocat case, they did go to such like vile blows. And is it just like there's this weird mix of like Twitch streaming people and trans misogyny and all this stuff just like brings the worst out? Like I think that's definitely a factor. But yeah, how do we prevent these things other than not being on Twitter?
Yeah.
And I do think that is a viable answer because I think it was. On Tumblr, we talk about the posts that are net zero information, right? You see a fact made and then it's immediately debunked in the same post, and you're like, oh, I love that. I just learned nothing.
Yeah, I learned a wrong thing, and now
Like, I feel like Twitter is often that. I don't know how much of anything that happens on Twitter is important. I don't know how much people in media actually really need it. Especially now, I don't think it's doing us really any favors. And I, as long as we go into it knowing this is just the stupid gladiatorial chamber where we go to be shitty online for fun, that's fine, I guess. But
yeah,
only up to a certain point.
I don't know if there is a lesson to be learned about this, but I think it's interesting because it's so distilled. And obviously I think Twitter is actively bad. Like we're not even talking about the fact that Elon, an actual white supremacist, like runs it and is actively turning it into a white supremacist thing. But I think, but I also think that this isn't unique to Twitter either. Like, I think this is social media in general does this kind of stuff, and Twitter does it worse. So I think it's worth, yeah, I don't know.
I think it goes back to the king that we started this stream with. He's not on social media.
Yeah.
He is still obviously you don't actually need to be plugged into social media to have the right opinions that arc toward justice and everything like that. So, and he doesn't read about himself online.
Yeah.
So clutch. I think
you sinned. That's why you got canceled. you named Sir.
Yeah. And it's fine because I wanted to get canceled. I wanted to feel something. I'm so numb all the time. I had a good time the whole time. I had a good time being canceled. The Walter White thing, like I was good at it. I did it for me, and really I was alive.
You see someone get canceled and you think that of me? No.
No.
I am the one that cancels.
Oh my god. Literally.
I was good at it. I liked it.
And I did it for me, and I was alive. I feel like if we can go into it knowing that's what we're in for, like it's fine. Like I think also Hess, I feel like has done it, posted enough like clout bait, snarky little jokes that like she's probably fine with it all too, to a degree. Nobody wants to get death threats, but like,
yeah,
if you know what you're playing with, it's a little bit different from when you don't, or you think it's for justice or something. Like, it's just stupid.
It's all stupid. It's all stupid. I think we can't let this shit be too important.
After we talk about it for 3.5 hours.
Well, that's yeah, it's true. It's true. I think that there was I feel so, again, I feel so I think that this is a self-criticism because I think that there's such interesting conversation that we had, but like I also don't want to be drama alert. Like what is the line there? Like
right. Well, yeah, maybe we need to do an H-bomb and donate all of our proceeds to I don't know who.
Jocat.
to
Jocat.
So yeah, Jocat, yeah. So that we're not profiting off of the drama.
But yeah, thank you so much everybody for coming. This was a really fun one. We love the piss course.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to tell us if there's piss course you want us to weigh in on.
Yeah. Because here we do get into a deeper quality conversation, like, and there are ways where it's like you can cultivate an audience and a space for that. It can't be on Twitter.
Yeah, that's the thing is I think these conversations have to happen in a place like this and not on Twitter because, yeah,
it's longer, it's slower, it's more selective, it's more self-selecting. Like that's why I keep my comments on like Substack and Medium, because it's like if you put a barrier in there, the people who are doing the no reading comprehension thing, they don't make it there because they're not reading the thing. They're not listening to the hours,
Devin, other Devin, would you believe that the George Santos thing was the other thing I was going to bring up if we had time, but we had too much other shit.
Oh,
so
yeah. He was right. He slayed. He kicked. He won. He won. I'm sorry.
What could we do to get you to go away?
Stop inviting me to your gigs.
So no Dancing with the Stars?
No.
No RuPaul's Drag Race?
I haven't got that invite yet. I'd love to go read a
The lesson is to stop inviting you places.
But you can't. Because people want the content.
What could we do to get you to go away?
This is a fucking. This is a American Horror Story dialogue. This is straight out of fucking what's that guy's name? That's straight out of his fucking laptop.
Yes.
That's straight out of his typewriter. Like just gays being snarky and fucking evil to each other. Like my god, and it's so true. It's so true.
That's the price of platforming. You can't act like you're better than it when you're doing it. Yeah.
Brian Murphy wrote this. Yes.
I think it's Ryan Murphy, not
Ryan
Brian.
Murphy. Yeah. But yeah, literally, because it's like a whole thing, and they ask him about
Can I list civil rights icons and you tell me what they mean to you? Marsha P. Johnson.
Yeah, she got an early hit on, but he ultimately won.
Keep going.
Respectful and honorable about what?
On all the stances and all the work.
Marsha P. Johnson?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Just keep going. Next.
You don't know her.
Yeah, I do. Keep going.
Do you?
I do. Go. Just keep going.
Oh my God.
James Baldwin.
Huh?
James Baldwin.
Who the hell is James Baldwin?
He's so...
Who's James Baldwin?
Harvey Milk.
I have no clue who that is.
Okay.
Yes,
What about
no
Bowen
history.
Yang doing an impression of you on SNL?
I think he deserves an EGOT.
I also, the moment where like she asked him about empathy and he's like, I literally don't know what it is and maybe I don't have it. I was like, I'm standing.
What is that thing that's like, unfortunately, when we see a white woman commit atrocities, gay men will say slay.
Yeah,
it's just exactly like that. When we see a bitch committing atrocities,
he's doing a win for no empathy representation. I feel seen. I feel heard. He's very dumb and doesn't know his history and doesn't know all of the people that made it possible for him to be a gay messy bitch in public, and that is shameful. But we
shouldn't be platforming. He's so right. He's so right.
He's right, and like that was something that was like a little annoying about the whole, because I watched the whole thing and like a lot of
did you? I didn't actually watch it.
And like a lot of what Z-Way does when it's just her and like a celebrity and she's just making the moment awkward, that's great. That's comedy, whatever. It's in the great, history of like Between Two Ferns, all of that kind of discomfort comedy. But when it becomes a political figure, and The Daily Show is like guilty of this too, right? So it's not to single her out, but like she was doing a lot of like performing contempt for him, but it's kind of self-congratulatory at the end of the day. It's like, we're not really, aside from that one question naming Marsha P. Johnson, which was a good dunk, like she really didn't score any hits on him that were revealing anything new or illuminating. That was, and you walk away from it liking him. And so, yeah, it kind of shows what platforming somebody does like that.
Yeah. So we apologize. No tap apology for platforming George Santos.
Yeah, I will do it again. Yif. He's not gonna be president, right? So probably, I don't think he can be, right? Because he's from Brazil, so I don't think he can be president.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna do any. He's just gonna be a talk show guy now. I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, which is, definitely he's gonna do material harm doing that still, but not as much as if he was actually in office. So.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, half of people who run for office now are just doing it to launch a. No.
We don't have any of that, but
I'll do it right after this. I'll do it at dinner. Thank you. Now that you said so, I'll do it.
All right.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Oh yeah, he yelled at. I don't think he actually did yell at Eric. He yelled at Eric Garcia was in the room when he yelled at somebody over Palestine.
Yes, he yelled at Eric Garcia.
Did he?
Was like, I will answer questions if you answer them, if you ask them respectfully instead of yelling at me. And he was saying that to Eric Garcia.
I didn't remember that. Oh my God. Oh my fucking God. Yeah, because also that was like 15 minutes after there was a picture of him, like somebody took a picture of him with a baby and somebody was like, "Who is that your baby?" And he said, "Not yet." What the fuck? What an insane. We love him. Oh, it's so bad.
Oh, can't help but stan. Oh.
Oh, can't help
But
but
yes,
stand.
speaking of Eric Garcia, next week on the
Yes.
stream, and Devin and Callisto and Jet and a bunch of other people, we're gonna have some Jackbox games on the
Yes.
stream. I've created hell for Maddie, technologically speaking, by inviting a lot of people.
I think it's
come
gonna
on
be
the
fun.
stream.
Enough people have said no at this point that I think we'll be okay. And if not,
Yeah.
I think we could switch off. It'll still be really fun. I'm very excited. It'll be very fun.
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to have a little holiday roundup with many of our guests from the past year playing Jackbox games. And depending on the game, like some of you watching will be able to participate in the audience in
Yes.
the audience way, which will be very fun. So same time as usual next week for that.
Yeah. I'm very excited for that. That'll be really fun. But yeah, we should get out of here. Have stay sane during Christmas if you are doing one of those. Happy holidays for everybody else.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for hanging out. This was a very fun one.
Yes.
Yeah, let's see. You know what? I'm gonna do it. We're gonna rate Hassan. I feel like we have to after this stream.
The drama
the
queen
drama
herself.
alert. Yeah.
The React channel.
Oh, we're rating Hassan.
Oh.
Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out. Thank you especially for all of the lots of subs. We really appreciate that. It really helps.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Everybody go take a walk or something. Alert.
Yeah.
Wash the off of you.
Yep. And VODs too, if you missed it and you want to watch it. The VOD will be up on YouTube soon, and it's on Twitch. It'll be on Twitch now. So yep. Thank you everybody for hanging out. And we'll catch you next Friday for some Jackbox.
Yeah.